All right. So we back with another reading of the Young Lords, A Radical History by Johanna Fernandez. Uh, yeah, I think a lot of people is very, very excited about the panel discussion that we're going to be having October the 8th. That's a Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have Shay, which is on. He's been on with us really from day one almost with this book reading. So we've been learning a lot from the Elder Young Lord Black Panther that's been in these book readings. He's on today. We talking about Attica, so there's gonna be a discussion that's gonna be rich with a lot of inside uh, uh, understanding of what was going on during Attica and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna have Omar Lopez, David Rivera, Cleo Silvers, and also the author of the book that we're reading right now, Johanna Fernandez. So I think it's gonna be a good discussion. If you checking this out, tune in October the 8th at 7 p.m. It's gonna be a different link. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be in a group chat. If you part of the Second Rainbow Coalition, reach out to one of your representatives or something like that, and you can get a copy of the link and jump on to this. But anyway, as always, we're going to start with the Statement of Unity. Our comrade Gabby is going to jump right into that for us.
Right on. Thank you, comrade Kwame. I'll be reading the Statement of Unity preface. Can y'all hear me, by the way?
Yes, comrade.
Right on. So, preface. The U.S. was founded as a colonial settler state based upon white supremacy and slavery, stealing the lands of the indigenous nations, breaking every treaty made with them, and confining them to quote-unquote reservations, concentration camps. As the country became more powerful, the eagle stuck its claws to other nations, making war on Mexico and grabbing its northern territory, invading Cuba, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and the Philippines, and either annexing them outright or making them colonies or neo-colonies. And in the 20th century, it became the major imperialist power in the world, exploiting both the people within its boundaries and those in every other country, bullying them with military interventions, and robbing them of their right to self-determination. As Huey P. Newton stated, we have two enemies to fight, racism and capitalism. Between the two, capitalism is primary. Racism is a byproduct of capitalism. The working people of the world, of every ethnicity or nationality, face a common enemy that is destroying life on Earth. Our enemy is a small ruling class of property owners controlling most of the world's wealth and resources. We must have our basic needs met to live a good and meaningful life. Food, shelter, healthcare, education, freedom from the oppression by the state, and peace with other nations. To obtain these essential things for life, we must have the power to see to it that the abundance that is available is shared equitably. Statement of Unity for the Second Rainbow Coalition. The legacy of the First Rainbow Coalition dates back to its founding on April 4th, 1969 by the original Black Panther Party, original Young Lords, and Young Patriots organization. A number of other organizations joined this coalition not long afterwards, such as the American Indian Movement, Brown Berets, Rising Up Angry, the Red Guards, and others. Since the founding of the United States, the masses have developed a number of popular movements that came together to fight back against this capitalist imperialist system in various ways around particular demands. Nevertheless, none has established a movement quite like the First Rainbow Coalition. This historic example was the first of its kind that established a model of class struggle like no other. Its charismatic leader, Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois chapter of the original Black Panther Party, stated at the end of the day, we weren't engaged in a quote-unquote race struggle. He said that it's a class struggle, goddammit. By uniting with the various oppressed ethnicities and masses, they were able to bridge the gap between the various ethnic communities that white supremacy had long sought to keep divided. This class solidarity equipped them with the material basis and class consciousness to see their common class condition. Therefore, the necessity to form a united front against their common class oppressor, the capitalist imperialist ruling class. The ruling class viewed this as the greatest threat to their class rule, and subsequently used the entire oppressive forces of the state, police, courts, jails, prisons, intelligence agencies, etc., in order to crush this emerging revolutionary socialist movement. We refounded the Rainbow Coalition on May 14th, 2021, with the intent of upholding the legacy of the original Rainbow Coalition. We believe that this historic example is the model for the United Front that will best serve our class liberation. By upholding the 10-point program of the original Black Panther Party, which was subsequently adopted and later expanded by the original Young Lords, Young Patriots organization, and all other original Rainbow Coalition members, we establish our pragmatic unity. The 6 disciplinary rules that we uphold ties all organizations in our coalition to a common professional discipline. History has bestowed upon our generation a common class mission to fulfill. The representatives of the capitalist imperialist ruling class, represented by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, cannot liberate us. It is their class intention and class interest to uphold our common class oppression. Therefore, it is only we, the oppressed masses of all ethnicities and nationalities, who must build the necessary class solidarity, class consciousness, organizational structures, and a united front that will ultimately liberate ourselves. This is what the Second Rainbow Coalition has committed to. This is the historic mission we intend to fulfill. Dare to struggle, dare to win. All members of the coalition, New African Black Panther Party, White Panther Party, Green Party of New Jersey, Poor People's Army, La Mesa Nacional de Brown Berets, Nassau, North Alabama School for Organizers, New Era Young Lords, and American Indian Movement Northeast Woodland Chapter. The 6 disciplinary rules. Number 1. Members will conduct themselves in a manner to bring credit to the coalition and will treat others with respect and politeness. Number 2. Members will be sober when on Rainbow Coalition business and will not engage in any criminal activity while a member. Number 3. No member will engage in violence except in the extremity of self-defense. Number 4. Members will not gossip nor be divisive to the unity of the Second Rainbow Coalition. Number 5. Members will not act as informers nor work against the purpose of the Second Rainbow Coalition. And number 6. Nobody is authorized to speak for the Second Rainbow Coalition unless authorized to do so. And that is a statement of unity.
Thank you for that, comrade.
Right on.
So we're going to be pulling up the PDF of this book. It's on if you got the book, it's on page 358. We're starting with the subsection, the Attica Prison Uprising. I'm glad everybody was able to jump on today. Almost done with this book, man. I think it's like one of the most informative books that we've read this year.
Right on.
A lot of different, you know what I'm saying, that I think is very applicable to our time today. So I hope everybody been getting a lot out of this. I know I have. So yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of great discussion with the elders and with Johanna behind this. We get to pick their brain and pick her brain about this. So get y'all questions ready when we have it. We'll probably do a lot of initially letting them speak about the history of it and a few different questions to set up the conversation. But towards the middle part of it, or we're going to open up to the floor to the Second Rainbow Coalition comrades, so y'all can ask them questions yourself. So,
right on. Hey, Comrade Shay. Hey, Comrade Kwame. I got a question. What book are we reading next after this one?
This one right here. It's going to be Johnny Torres's book.
Right. Yeah.
The Revolution Anthology, Volume 1. So it's going to be a lot of the Brown Berets that's going to be looking at like how they became revolutionary. Some of their poetry that's going to be in there. Some of the elders that's going to be off in there. Even some of the elder young lords is off in there. And okay. I can think of one young lord of this present day, Paul Morales is in there. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be a a good read to learn about our Brown Beret comrades and stuff. You know, it's not a lot of history about the Brown Berets, uh, uh, but I think this is a good book where we can learn about the present day Brown Berets and how they became revolutionaries and stuff. You know what I mean?
Right on.
Fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But the next book I'm trying to get is we probably gonna have to discuss this and stuff. I know Kat wanted us to read Red Star Sisters. So I got reached back out to the White Panthers. John Sinclair. Well, what's that? Blood in the
My Eye by George Jackson, I believe.
That blood in my eye.
Yep.
Blood in the water. That's the whole history, and detail by detail of the Attica struggle.
Oh, okay. Blood in the water.
Right on.
Big book.
And it's a big book, man.
It looks big.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But we'll discuss him real soon because I think instead of reading Red Star Sisters, and I talked to the White Panthers about that, I think we should read Guitar Army. That's John Sinclair, one of the founders of the White Panther Party. He talks about the whole history of the White Panther Party. You know what I mean? And we hearing it straight from one of the founders. So in my opinion, I think that's what we should read. So I'm gonna reach back out to them and see if they agree. But if we do read that book, like I think at least the moderators is gonna have to just buy that book. I don't know if we're gonna be able to, you know what I mean? Find
What's it called?
It's called Guitar Army, John
Sinclair. If you know about the MC5, you would know John Sinclair because he was the band's manager too.
Yeah, so if anybody can find that PDF, like
I'll find it.
Okay, well, hey, if you can find it, we'll probably run with that. You know what I mean?
Bet.
I just found it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just found it.
Okay, well, send it my way.
Way better for me.
Of this generation, y'all find all the free stuff.
We're tech savvy over here. Okay.
They're like a few minutes talk about that. I already found it. Well, anyway, jump right into the book reading. Like I said, I got to go at 8:30, so I want to jump right in so we can finish this and have a good discussion. All right, so page 358, the Attica Prison Uprising. Since fall 1970, the Young Lords had established a connection through mail correspondence with a network of prisoners in New York State known as the Inmate Liberation Front. Let me see. This is my can y'all hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
PDF went off, didn't it?
Yes, I don't see the PDF anymore, but I can hear you clearly.
Okay. You still on there, Alyssa?
Yeah, I think my phone is acting up. Should I give the host to somebody else? Because it like just
Yeah, give it to
something different.
Give it to Gabby.
Hold on. I am not tech savvy, so bear with me. I am not the one. Okay, make host.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah, my phone was acting up all day today, so.
Wait, so you want me to screen share it this time?
Screen share that book, scroll down to where we at. So everybody
Right on.
Yeah. It's far. It's 358.
All right. Let me start doing that.
But yeah, I was talking about with Guitar Army. I think that's gonna be a real significant read because one thing I realized is like certain histories we don't really know a lot about. You know what I mean? And the White Panther Party is one of them. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's critical. Yep. Like we start off with a history that's going to give us a full analysis how they became who they became, how it started. You know what I'm saying? Who were the principal players within that? I do have a copy of Wayne Kramer's book. I think I'm looking at it right now.
Wayne Kramer, badass.
Yeah, when I was on my book tour, I think this is it right here. Yeah, right here. Wayne Kramer's autobiography. I haven't started reading it yet because I got a whole. I don't know if y'all can see this. I know the background like fucks with the picture, but anyway.
Yeah, I see
it. When I was on that book tour with High Thurman out there on the West Coast, we went to a place. It was called Guitar for Doors, something like that. But it was like a place that it was a community center, and that Wayne Kramer be helping teach people like musical, like guitar and studio stuff. And
oh yeah, I see Wayne's videos.
Yes, yeah. I was able to get a copy of his book when I was out there. I wish he would have been able to make it to that book tour stop. You know what I mean? I would have loved to meet him. But I think when we read Guitar Army, I think that's going to give us a real good analysis of the White Panther Party historically and how it came to be. You know what I mean? Are you able to screen share it, Gabby? Did we lose Gabby? Yeah, jail diversion mentorship program. Yeah, right on. Dr. Rob was with us. What'd you say, Alyssa?
My fault. When you're screen sharing, if you're muted, you can't go back.
There we go. Hey y'all. Okay. I just said that I transitioned to my PC, so that way it's easier for y'all to read it. Because if I did it on my phone, it would be way harder for y'all to read it. So I'm trying to open up the place where I have the PDF, so that way I can screen share it. It's opening up right now. Come on.
But Dr. Rob was out there with me. I forgot about that. Yep. You took us around all the book tour stops and stuff. We had a great time when we was out there on the West Coast. That was about what? Almost a year now, right, Dr. Rob?
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, that was about a year ago this month. That was epic tour. It was such a privilege to become Neil driving the Magic Bus, taking you guys up to the Bay Area where so much is hard. And I'm still in contact with a lot of folks we met along the way, man.
That's what's up. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. We got around to Los Angeles, UC Merced. We went down to Oakland. Oakland, that was like a highlight for me. But I was kind of like a little depressed about the situation because I was like, man, Oakland had like, you can tell it was very the homeless situation. But you know what is when if you think about any place that's ever rose against the United States, you dig what I'm saying? Challenge the United States, they have always tried to make sure that that city, that country never rose up again. I don't care if you're talking about Oakland. I don't care if you're talking about Chicago. I don't care if you're talking about Haiti. I don't care if you're talking about Puerto Rico. Whoever you want to look at, whenever they made that example, they always try to make sure they keep them oppressed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, every single time.
Huh?
Every single time.
Yeah, and that's what I saw about Oakland and stuff. It was like, they wanted to make sure that the Black Panther Party legacy don't never resurrect itself in that city.
What page are we on again? Sorry.
It was there where they gave birth to the Black Panther Party in Oakland.
Say it again.
No, it was in Oakland where the birth of the Black Panther Party, right?
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm here.
That's why. Okay. Like dilapidated, the poverty situation. Like I didn't see as much poverty in my life till I went to, the West Coast as a whole, but it just seemed like it was so concentrated in Oakland that I wouldn't have that. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the highways that destroyed West Oakland, the highway system, like I mean that's literally a weapon of urban genocide right there.
Y'all see this, by the way?
It's starting to screen share.
Come on, let's screen share.
It's loading, sorry.
You're good.
Come on.
I see we got our comrade.
There we go. Y'all see this?
Comrade.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Oh wait. God damn it. Sorry about that, y'all. I accidentally fucking goddamn. Okay, let me
You heard me?
Y'all hear me?
He was in here. Yeah, we hear. Go ahead and try to get it, comrade.
God damn it! I accidentally closed Google.
So this first time we had this much technical difficulties. I might just read the whole chapter. If
I was about to say, why don't you just start and then we can.
Yeah. Comrade, you can just start and I'll catch up to y'all. So don't worry. Don't even worry about it.
All right, I'm about to start right now. I'm starting over. The Attica Prison Uprising. Since fall 1970s, 70, the Young Lords had established a connection through mail correspondence with a network of prisoners in New York State known as the Inmates Liberation Front. In response to the ILF request for a formal affiliation with the Young Lords, the Puerto Rican radicals adopted ILF as a mass organization. The ILF was a product of the changing face of U.S. prisoners. During the 1960s, the New York State prisons registered prisoners with a different profile than in previous years. The new prisoners tended to be younger, but serving a shorter sentence, was disproportionately drawn from the state's major urban areas, and was overwhelmingly Black, American, or Puerto Rican. Reared in the era of Black power, many of these prisoners expected to be treated with respect and dignity. And many called themselves political prisoners, arguing that the actions that landed them in prison were less a product of individual character flaws and more the result of the nation's failure to provide decent employment, adequate housing, and equal education to so many of its citizens. The coming together of these younger and more politicized prisoners with the small but growing number of radicals who have been in prison for their political activisms created the conditions for widespread rebellions against the long-standing degradation experienced in some of the nation's most repressive prisons. In summer and fall 1971, the Attica Correctional Facility in upstate New York became the site of the most dramatic prisoners' rebellion of the period.
I found it. Okay, sorry. Okay. I finally loaded it. I just want to say that, so I'm going to start screen sharing now.
I'm going to keep on reading and just catch up with me. In the summer of 1971, the Attica Correctional Facility in upstate New York became the site of the most dramatic prisoners' rebellion of the period. The siege took place in the context of growing tensions between guards and prisoners and growing awareness of small gains made by organized prisoner actions in New York State and across the country. A year earlier, 450 Attica prisoners working in a metal shop, the most despised work in the prison, to which Black prisoners were disproportionately assigned, organized a work stoppage to protest inhumane conditions, low wages, and the transfer to a different facility of the prisoners who had approached the supervisor about an increase in wages. Their wages increased from 6 to 29 cents per day to 25 cents to $1. Damn, that's a lot. When I was in prison, the most you could get with prison pay was like 50 cents. So that they pushed the wages up even farther than where our prisons was in Indiana when I was in there. 3 months later, when prisoners at Auburn State Prison in New York did not get permission to carry out educational activities during their proposed Black Solidarity Day, they marched the guards to the center of the yard after confiscating their keys and nightsticks and proceeded with their speak out. Frustration with the slow pace of change continued to grow in the context of prisoners' rising expectations following the appointment of a new commissioner, Russell G. Oswald, who had responded positively to prisoners' demands but had not delivered on reforms. We're on page 359. Is that where you at now? Okay. Yeah, you found me.
Yep, I'm here.
In July 1971, after corresponding with prisoners across the state by mail, a group of 5 prisoners calling themselves the Attica Liberation Faction wrote a letter to the commissioner in which they presented a set of demands. The demands included the right to counsel at parole hearings, improved conditions and medical care, food, clothing, recreational facilities, prisoner workshops, and the dining area. The right to shower more than once a week. What the fuck? Once a week?
Yeah, once a week. That's what it was.
Man, that's insane, comrade.
That's inhumane. The fuck? That should be basic human rights. What the fuck?
Well, you're gonna hear some more.
Right to shower more than once a week, the standardization of rules across the prison, and an end to the practice of segregating political prisoners from the general prison population. According to the Special Commission on Attica, the disposition of prisoners toward organized protest was influenced. Just a minute, my thought. Was influenced by the emergence of groups of prisoners that identify as members of the Black Panthers and the Young Lords and as radical Muslims. That's what's up. Members of these groups conducted a prison-led class in sociology. I see you, Jake, where discussion inevitably raised questions about their own status and conditions. In mid-August, the guards at Attica reported that prisoners they recognized as Young Lords had mediated a dispute between Muslims and Black Panthers. In the context of Julio Rodon's death and the growing politicization of prisoners in New York State, the Young Lords have prioritized prisoners' rights through the ILF. The frequent references in the Attica Uprising investigation to prisoners who identified as Young Lords, coupled with the steady flow of letters penned by prisoners in Palante, were a testament that the Young Lords had inspired many prisoners to come together to assert their rights through collective action and their humanity through political education and personal commitment to a cause higher than themselves. Not long before that, on August 22nd, 1971, while the sociology class was in recess for the summer, prisoners wore black armbands and held a day-long silent protest and hunger strike to commemorate George Jackson, a gifted writer and critic of the U.S. prison system, who had recently been murdered by a tower guard in San Quentin State Prison in Marion County, California. A few weeks later, on September 9th, the morning after 2 prisoners in 2 different units were dragged to solitary confinement, approximately 150 prisoners in those 2 units, mostly Black, American, and Puerto Rican, took over parts of the prison. Within 2 hours, around 1,200 prisoners had joined in the uprising and taken hostage 42 officers and civilians. Before long, they presented 28 demands for prison reform that focused on conditions. But as the magnitude of the uprising became manifest, after much wrangling, the prisoners settled on 6 immediate demands that called for a complete amnesty for their actions and quote, freedom from all physical, mental, and legal reprisals, unquote. In negotiation with the Commissioner Oswald, they demanded to be represented by a well-known radical attorney, William Kunstler. Members of the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords, the Nation of Islam, Bronx Congressman Herman Valdilio, journalist Tom Wicker, and others. Young Lords Central Committee member Juan F. Ortiz and Jose Perez, a former Attica prisoner, and young Lord were deployed to Attica to join the negotiations. Back in New York City, the Young Lords immediately held local meetings and 2 large demonstrations in concert with the New York Black Panthers to pressure George Nelson Rockefeller to support the prisoners. But their efforts were for naught. The commissioner accepted the prisoners' original 28 demands, but refused to grant those deemed most important to the prisoners: full amnesty and the resignation of Attica Superintendent Vincent R. Manscusi. Amid distrust on both sides, the prisoner refused to compromise on these 2 issues. According to Ortiz, they had drawn lessons from the multiple prisoner rebellions in New York City the year before, in which all the prisoners' demands were granted. But the repressive retaliation of wardens, together with unforgiving legal charges leveled against them by the state, would keep them behind bars for the rest of their lives. A desperate plea to the world written by the Young Lords prisoners and delivered to Ortiz in Paris during the negotiations illustrates that the leaders of the rebellion understood the homicidal character of the state's reprisals against them. We, quote, "We are automatically dead men if we remain here. As representatives of the people, we will be the ones who will die first at the hands of the fascist pigs. Please get us out of this concentration camp," unquote. They knew that the state would sacrifice the hostages in order to quash the uprising, and felt that the resolution can only come through some kind of humanitarian intervention by federal or international authorities. Quote, "The pig is already talking about sacrificing the hostages to get to us. If responsible, we are willing to leave the country if we are granted safe passage out. We are not."
You know what I'm laughing at?
Because
that comment came from somebody I know.
Okay. If we are not Americans, we are Puerto Ricans and blacks and such. We do not belong to fascist America. Please, you must get a federal judge to help us. We need the full, unmitigated support of the world out there. We have stopped begging for crumbs. We are human beings and will die to prove that fight, unquote. 5 days into the uprising, on September 13th, the governor ordered the assault on Attica by state troopers. Within 15 minutes, 39 people were dead, 29 prisoners and 10 guards, making the death toll at Attica what a state commission would call, quote, "the bloodiest one-day encounter between Americans since the Civil War," unquote. 4 others had died in the run-up to the siege, bringing the death toll at Attica to 43. Despite growing evidence of the decline, the Young Lords had established an intrepid reputation as a tribune of the oppressed, and so they were called upon to participate in and bear witness to an epic struggle for human dignity in one of the nation's most notorious prisons. In the preceding decades, prisons would become major pillars in the fight for radical freedom in the post-Black Power movement era.
Racial freedom, by the way. This is racial freedom here.
Racial freedom in the post-Black Power movement era. All right, so the next subsection, from Young Lords to revolutionary workers. From all of their hard work and influential campaigns, in 1971, the Young Lords was facing challenges to their mass work perspective for many different reasons. They had sustained a dizzying pace of full-time activism, high stress, building occupations for more than 2 years. They had witnessed the murder of Black Panther Fred Hampton, the trial of the Panther 21, and the violent repression and internecine battles that were decimating the Black Panther Party. The fatal possibilities of activisms came to their doorstep with the death of Julio Rodin and their armed occupation of the First Spanish United Methodist Church. The group then launched its most organizationally and politically complicated campaign, the move to Puerto Rico, at a moment when its longest standing members and Central Committee were undergoing a combination of movement exhaustion, fears of growing government repression, and in many cases, demoralization. While the organization struggled to reunite its work on the mainland, the momentum of times past had been lost. Although the group had restructured itself into mass organizations, its old fighting spirit was never revived. The YLP was launching new, bold initiatives at a time when the organization's membership began a slow decline and the movement was losing its mass character. Had the group begun to create its mass organizations earlier during the window of opportunity between 1969 and 1970, when activism in urban neighborhoods was in ascendance, it might have emerged as a stronger force in the 1970s. But in 1969, while individual members of the YLP might have been familiar with the history of the committee work among left organizations, the political inexperience of the organization as a whole precluded the application of such lessons and strategies. The adoption of this new approach toward organizing was partly a consequence of objective realities in the YLP, an attempt by the organization to compensate for its decline in membership. Reflecting a year later on the decline in membership, Juan Gonzalez wrote in Palante, quote, "Many problems develop inside the Young Lords Party. Offices closed. Palante was almost never found in the street. The party would start a program, then drop it. The party was thrown off its course, and leaders and members became impatient with the problems mounted, and they wanted to quickly change things or escape," unquote. The disorientation that befell the Young Lords was certainly exacerbated by the Central Committee's own precipitous decisions, but the broader movement itself was experiencing decline. During a Young Lords interview conducted in November 1971 by the Berkeley Tribe, the interviewer identified lower alternative newspaper runs and protest activity as a trend, quote, universal to the movement, unquote. In an interview, Juan Gonzalez acknowledged that, quote, "There's a big struggle going on now in all the societies of the world. The question is the revolutionary movement going to become a real revolutionary movement, or is it going to die away," unquote. Here, both interviewer and interviewee acknowledged that organizational capacities are not what they were a year before, and that demonstrations are much smaller. Yet they attributed the downtick in activism not to the broader objective social forces, but to the temporary retreat from public life of the movement's major organizations. These groups were in retreat, immersed in political debates about how society would be transformed in a revolutionary situation, and, quote, who's going to lead it and what forms of struggle are going to be used, whether it's going to be urban guerrilla warfare or mass mobilization or insurrections, what class bases are going to be the basis upon which to build, unquote. The radicals were confessing the high stakes frenzy produced by violent government repression against them with the advent of revolutionary consciousness among the masses. The period must have been difficult to read politically. In the United States in the late 1960s, mass urban rebellions had swept through dozens of cities. Many young workers who had been politicized by the civil rights and Black Power movements were engaged in strike actions. Rebellion was visible in the most regimented institutions of society, in the military, in the prisons. The nation, standing as a world superpower, appeared to have been irreparably damaged by People's Guerrilla Army in Vietnam, and decolonialization movements seemed to be raging in Palestine, Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, among others. But after almost 2 decades of sustained social conflict and social movements, the United States was entering a period of conservative backlash. For its part, in preparation for what they saw as the coming revolution, the Young Lords had begun to focus some of their organizing efforts on the working class. In late 1971, the Young Lords ceased wearing field jackets and marching in formation at demonstrations. They now reasoned that their paramilitary style encouraged many people to, quote, stand on the sidelines and watch us with all the fancy steps and stuff, quote, rather than join them. And October 1971, Central Committee member Pablo Yoruba Guzman formed part of a delegation of over 70 American radicals who traveled to China. The delegates included Elaine Brown, Huey P. Newton, and Robert Bay of the Black Panthers, and members of the Black Workers Congress. the American Friends Service Committee, and the Maoist group Revolutionary Union. They met with a variety of Chinese communist leaders and government leading activists in different areas of life. One of the government officials challenged Guzman on the organization's emphasis on the powerless lumpen proletariat and on the organization to deploy its efforts in Puerto Rico. They argued that a mainland organization could not easily launch or lead an independent struggle in a territory which it shared a cultural heritage but not a direct lived experience. Following his return from China in November, Guzman disseminated the critiques of the Chinese in a private meeting of select young lords cadre and a group known as the National Staff, a layer of leaders secondary to the Central Committee who could be called upon to replace members of the committee in case of an emergency. Okay. The timing of the meeting was intentional. It took place during one of Juan Gonzalez's trips to Puerto Rico. Guzman wanted to be able to influence those in attendance without the potential interference of Gonzalez. After the meeting, Guzman and his supporters identified their efforts as a rectification program, a vehicle for the organization to redefine and reconsider its political organization and line of march. It gained adherents quickly and won the ear of two other members of the Central Committee, David Perez and Juan F. Ortiz. Guzman was articulating a political explanation for what many already sensed, that the efforts in Puerto Rico were counterproductive. When Gonzalez returned from Puerto Rico, he found the organization on the brink of redirecting its efforts back toward mainland activism. According to Gonzalez, quote, "Of course, when Gloria heard about it, she got pissed off. And I was pissed off because nobody had talked to us about it," unquote. Although Gonzalez was one of the strongest political thinkers in the organization after his marriage to Fernandez, who joined the Central Committee shortly after Lupe Luciano's demotion, Gonzalez seemed increasingly to elevate party discipline and form. Guzman called to return to the organization's roots made clear what many realized but were hesitant to say. Since the move to Puerto Rico, most had succumbed to Gloria's will. Fontanez used political moralism to steer the organization. Ramon Morales remembers that, quote, "the clever manipulator," quote, "was," quote, "more Maoist than Mao," unquote. As a female worker in the healthcare industry, she turned her, quote, "proletariat," quote, "experience into the standard of revolutionary purity." She held alleged political weaknesses over the heads of her targets, including Juan Gonzalez. With a carrot and stick, not to mention members' honest commitment, she coerced behavior and achieved her aims. Those who couldn't be controlled were demonized. From its inception, the organization had its share of centralization, but the group had enjoyed an open political culture during its first 2 years. The cadre were encouraged to read a wide range of literature and raise disagreements. Quote, this idea was that if you feel a certain way, don't keep it under the cap because it's not the main view, unquote, Cologne remembers. Quote, "We were encouraged to study, come back, and wage ideological struggle. That's why we called it and battle for your ideal." That was a real enlightening thing for so many of us, to deploy yourself, even if that meant you could be in opposition with someone who you might have thought was a big shot, unquote. During that early period, the centralized leadership of the Young Lords was balanced out by vibrancy and dynamicism movement, which retained a mass character through the end of 1970. The possibility for disagreement and for input from all the members of the group reflected the sense of great possibility within the movement as a whole. By contrast, after the New York branch offices were closed down in summer 1971, according to Cologne and others, The Young Lords became gradually more dogmatic and rigid in their political outlook. Late 1970s radicals had failed to leverage the kind of power necessary to fundamentally change society, and as demoralization set in, the movements lost steam. This trend, combined with the growing pace of government repression, atomized and isolated groups like the Young Lords and encouraged paranoia in their ranks. As the mass base of the movement declined, the Young Lords' hyper-centralized decision-making structure made dominant the political perspectives of a very small number of highly committed people who misread the period politically. For example, although someone such as Gonzalez agreed that the movement activity was on the decline, he, like other experienced leaders, believed that the downturn would be short-lived and that the continued struggle was on the horizon. At a moment when the movements were most in need of critical assessment, debate, and discussion were sacrificed for a greater insistency on party discipline and not deviating from the party line. Despite the support for a shift back to the mainland, Gonzalez respected standing in the organization allowed him to esteem the influence of Guzman and his supporters. Quote, I was able to win. David and we basically went back to FEE and to national staff, which played a bigger role at the time. Iris, Idris, Richie, Perez, Juan Ramon, Ramos, and Carmen, Ramos, and Carmen Cruz. And we were able to win the majority of the national staff and the rest of the Central Committee to stop that. Wow. Well, Guzman's clandestine meeting sought to win a critical mass over to his critique in advance of Gonzalez's return. The failure of his plan, even though it had considerate support, exemplifies the eroded confidence of the group's base. For most Young Lords, party discipline and loyalty to and trust in the highest ranking members of the Central Committee, the Minister of Defense, trumped a sober assessment of the organization's work. Well, this is a critical period that we should learn from right here. For failing to raise his disagreement through the proper channels, Guzman was suspended from the Central Committee for a couple of months. In the months to come, he and his partner, Idris Morales, will be transferred to Philadelphia to replace National Staff member Juan Ramos, who together with Central Committee for Juan F. Ortiz were sent to Puerto Rico to shore up the Young Lords' precarious efforts on the island. There they joined Gloria Fontanez along with approximately 30 among them new recruits who were by now organizing on the island. Although Guzman lost his argument against the Young Lords absorbed other elements of his trip to China. During the trip, Guzman had met and developed a relationship with one of the leading members of the Maoist RU, Donald Herbert Wright. The RU had emerged out of the heated ideological debates within SDS in 1968 and 1969 over the direction of the movement. The RU supported building a Marxist-Leninist organization rooted in local workplaces, such as with an eye toward building a national network of similar collectives. According to Fontanez, Wright's friendship with Guzman had multiple motivations. Quote, during the China trip, Donald started to say, I want to meet Gloria Fontanez. I want to meet her. I want to meet her. So Yoruba arranged a meeting between me and Don at a party, unquote. That party took place in the early months of 1972. The two started an affair soon thereafter, which combined with the YLP's increasing attempt to implement a working class perspective, accelerated the political influence of the RU on the organization. Okay. Speaking in an interview with Liberation News Service in February 1972, Guzman explained that the young lords came out of the working class, yet, quote, up until this point, the people who came around and who were working had to quit their jobs to be in a party, unquote. But as the emphasis on mass organizations continued, now many of its members were gearing up to take jobs in factories within major industries. They expected that the shift would offer stability to the organization and counteract the youthful adventurism of the past. One, and they envisioned themselves as redeemers of the ideals the working class families had bequeathed to them, but which they rejected when they adopted lumpen orientation. Quote, we all came from the working class families, and when we came into the party, we left them. But we realized that our families had helped build part of this country and had instilled in us some ideals we had discarded. Patience and the notion that this is a protracted struggle and that life is protracted, unquote. Unwilling to abandon their lumpen work entirely, they initiated an oral history program, quote, going back 3 generations in some cases to understand how people arrived at the thing of being lumpen, unquote. In other words, they sought to explore the process by which individual people of color living in urban centers became part of a poor, marginal class detached from the formal economy. In the winter of 1972, the organization launched a 40-day course of the was held in 6-hour shifts that could be taken in either let me see. The course was held in daily 6-hour shifts that could be taken daytime or the evening. During the evening, members of the Young Lords read classics, including Marx's theory of alienation and economics and philosophic manuscript of 1844, Capital, Anti-Juring, and the Poverty of Philosophy, as well as Lenin's State and Revolution and What is to be Done, among others. The relationships between mass organizations and revolutionary communist parties and between the Revolutionary Party and the working class in previous revolutionary moments were among the questions explored in the intensive study. In the context of a group that was increasingly disconnected from real-world events, this 40-day course of study further isolated the organization from reality. Spending so much time studying, sequestered from the world under pressure to prove one's revolutionary commitment, encouraged cult-like behavior. This was also around for the COINTELPRO. In June 1972, a month before the First Party Congress, the Central Committee published a special Palante titled Faction Leaves Young Lords Party, claiming that the national staff member Juan Ramos Juan F. Ortiz, as well as several others, had abandoned the party's work in Puerto Rico, unquote. After a few months on the ground in Puerto Rico, Ramos and Ortiz and a few other members had attempted to make the point that the work on the island was futile with the Central Committee to no avail. Not unlike Guzman after his trip to China, they argued that the U.S. imperialism was but a particular feature of a more general conflict in the United States, at the center of which was the class struggle between the U.S. ruling class and its multinational proletariat. From this understanding, they concluded that Puerto Rican workers living in the United States should devote their time to struggles in the United States and not to the national liberation movement in Puerto Rico. Fontanez, who was back on the main line when the critique was launched, perceived the petition for a shift in perspective as a declaration of war. In response, she took the first flight back to Puerto Rico and, flanked by YLP security, burst into the home where the Young Lords lived collectively on the island. There, she denounced Ramos' contingent for circumventing the authority of the Central Committee and for factional activity that advanced a political perspective different from established by the Central Committee in its retreat a year earlier. Although there had been no membership-wide meeting to debate the shift in political perspective, Fontanez said that the organization had consented to move and therefore Ramos' contingent was in violation of democratic centralism. At the end of a long fight in the middle of the night, Ramos and Ortiz and their supporters were thrown out on the street. Back in the United States, the special edition of Palante was a scathing personal attack on Ramos and his followers that denounced them as a, quote, faction, unquote, bent on inciting conflict and dividing the party. The special edition also accused them of lazy, dilettante behavior and caring more about the middle class aspirations than the revolutionary struggle. This kind of public airing of hostility in Palante against leading members of the organization was a clear sign that the leadership of the Young Lords was in crisis. COINTELPRO certainly had his hand in fueling bitter demonization campaigns like these. But as a matter of course, Fernandez had been ruthless with those who challenged her authority. In between highly charged barbs filled with moralistic accusations, the Central Committee now adopted Guzman's views and critique of the path the organization had taken. The Central Committee wrote that, quote, as our Chinese comrades have pointed out, the major conflict in the world today is that of oppressed nations against imperialists. Quote, therefore, quote, the primary duty of workers in the United States is to support national liberation struggles against U.S. imperialism, unquote. For their differing political perspectives, these members of the Young Lords were branded, quote, enemies of the people, unquote. Never mind that this was a misapplication of the term Mao used to categorize counter-revolutionary forces in the revolutionary situation. Quote, the social forces and groups which are hostile to or sabotage socialist construction, unquote. The cadre on the mainland was not involved in the discussion to publish these accounts and was shocked to see the special editions of Palante, according to Gilbert Colon. And this is a quote from him. The organization started demonizing people who were in opposition. When that first happened, I felt very pissed off because how are all these people who were comrades yesterday's enemies today? That didn't sit well with me. I mean, I knew these people. I partied with these people. I love these people. And now you're telling me don't associate with them. And that was the first inkling of what was to come later. When those Young Lords argued that the branch in Puerto Rico needed to be shut down because we were strong in our perspective, that way they were dealt with, they were treated terribly, unquote. Not long after the Ramos contingent had been expelled on charges of breaking rank and sowing dissent, the YLP once again adopted the perspective of demonized, quote unquote, faction. In July 1972, the Central Committee held the organization's first and last Congress, which is called the Young Lords Party Congress. There, Gloria Fontanez became the singular leading person within the Central Committee and announced that the Young Lords was closing their operations in Puerto Rico, and in line with their shift towards organizing among workers at the point of production, the Young Lords will also change their name to the Puerto Rican Revolutionary Workers Organization. Approximately 300 Young Lords were present at the conference that was now the approximate number of its active members, a steep decline from its approximately 1,000 members a year earlier. Led by Fontanez, the Congress was a public event intended to showcase the viability of the Young Lords within the Puerto Rican left on the U.S. mainland. Given both its success in stimulating the resurgence of radical Puerto Rican activism and its public disagreements, particularly during the denunciation of the Ramos faction, the Young Lords Congress attracted many organizations within the broader left movement. Some were there to witness the Young Lords' political spectacle, while others fought to capitalize on the audience that the Young Lords would surely attract to broker partnerships with different groups that might lead to greater political influence. Missing was the open and democratic debate, discussion, and assessment of earlier years. Wow.
That's sad.
Wow.
Jesus fuck.
Wow. All I can say is wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fact right here.
like them misusing the enemies of the people term from Mao. Whoa.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you think that's
revisionist.
something, but you know, there were some brothers and comrades that I know, you know, wait a minute. My granddaughter's giving me some food. That's my granddaughter right there.
Hey.
Hey.
But yeah, that shit right there was sad. Them demonizing the young lords who were opposed to continuing on Puerto Rico and demonizing having open discussions. That's revisionism, right? Fucking there, like that's revision of 101. God damn.
And you know what I see too, and I think even our generation, like we have to come to terms with some of these questions groups wrestled with back then. They made a distinction between a mass base and a party, and I think that's like really key. You know what I'm saying? You'll see like a lot of organizations today. They have a mass base and they have their political party. Those are two things. You know what I'm saying? And within a mass-based organization, like for instance, just to use one group, there's a part of the Second Rainbow Coalition, the United Panther Movement. And I'm only speaking hypothetically. I'm not speaking about anything that's actually practice or whatever like this. I'm speaking about how mass-based organizations are supposed to run. But like when groups come in, they're coming in who they are. They're not coming in fully developed revolutionaries. You know what I'm saying? People enter the revolution with all type of different worldviews and perspectives, idealistic notions of different things. Go ahead. What was you?
When they talked about you see, there was a lot of stuff that happened in the Young Laws that they didn't talk about in the book. There were some hostages that were involved, and hostages like Richie Perez, Panama, Wink, and two other brothers. I can't remember their names. But it was 5 people that were held hostage in their own apartment, held hostage by these people. You know, and Fontanez, which happened to be the wife of what's his name?
Gonzalez?
Gonzalez, yeah, Gonzalez. She's the one that did all that sniving thing and held people in hostages, etc. Only because people refused to acknowledge her as a dictator. She wanted to be a dictator, man.
She was a revisionist. That's what she was. She was a revisionist.
I was like, you know, but that's what happened. But I'll talk about Attica when it's my turn to talk about.
Yeah, I think some of this comes down to like I was trying to get at organizational structures and stuff. Where like for instance, when people first come in, that's a different process of dealing with like the masses. You know what I'm saying? That's more of a democratic approach to dealing with like issues that the party has to take in consideration by applying the mass line, listening to the people. You know what I'm saying? So like for instance, and I'm just using an example here. Like when a person goes into the United Panther Movement, that's going into an organization that's a mass-based organization, and it's organized based on programmatic unity and not political ideological unity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is kind of how like the Second Rainbow Coalition functions. You know what I'm saying? We look at this as more so in a mass-based coalition. You know what I'm saying? In a way, because this is not a political party. That's a different form of unity. This is one of the things I think like we have to keep in mind that our comrades in the 60s wrestle with. How do we get, apply the mass line that Mao Zedong, where the people feel like their voice is being heard? You know what I'm saying? And that's why you have a mass base, because the mass base gives you a pulse of what the community feeling. You know what I'm saying? And they have their own that's connect. It's an interconnection. It's an interdependent connection. But you have leaders within a mass-based organization that can actually speak as for that mass base that reflects the feelings of the community. You know what I'm saying? And every political party has to take that in consideration when they listen to the community. They can't dictate down in a commandish way. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was part of a problem of organizational structure. Like you'll see a lot of organizations in the 21st century, they have a mass base and they got a political party. You know what I'm saying? This is to resolve these contradictions between the party and the mass base and with community. You know what I'm saying? It's more of a dialectical relationship where it's not just a party dictating down how we're gonna move all the time. Like you have to listen to the people. You know what I'm saying? You have to listen to the community. It's a dialectical process. You know what I mean? So this section brings up a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? I see here, like we can unpack this in so many different levels, but I think like we have to take some of these questions that they were wrestling with back in the 60s and 70s and like ask ourselves some of these questions today so we don't make the same type of mistakes. Go ahead, Gabby.
No, I just want to add on what you were saying, comrade, because yeah, you're 100% right. We cannot be commandist and be ahead of the masses and not connect with them, but we also can't be tailless and be behind them. We have to meet them where they're at psychologically and materially. That's how we're going to radicalize them. That's how we're going to agitate them and organize them, meeting them where they're at and getting a feel of the materialistic needs and conditions of the community, what they need, what their ideas are, where are they psychologically located at as a collective, and how to elevate them to a point where they themselves can adapt the ideological and political line of the party. The last chapter that we read, or the last chapter before that, I don't know which one it was. Shanti was here with me when we read it, but one of the people of the Central Committee of that time rejected pantherism and more specifically intercommunalism and the grassroots movements. They rejected the survival programs and called them volunteerism, quote unquote. They started calling it volunteerism, and they rejected the survival programs, and they said that the way that they were going to radicalize the masses is to meet the people where they're at politically. But in order to meet the people where they're at politically, you first have to meet them where they're at materially and psychologically. Because not everyone's going to have the same political line. Not everyone's going to have the same political opinions. You're going to have people who have never heard of Marx. You're going to have people who have heard of theory, but maybe they're anarchists or maybe they're something else. You have to meet the people where they're at currently, and then through working alongside them, you change them because through observation, participation. They see you organizing, they see that's causing change, and then they participate in it, and then they start to adapt that same analysis and those same organizational structures. Then they start listening to what the ideological and political line of the party is. You can't just automatically jump to wanting the masses to have your specific ideological line when you haven't shown them why they should follow you in the first place.
All right. Absolutely. And I'm glad. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say the example of if you were to meet a person right on the side of the street, a complete stranger, sure. and if you were to just tell them a bunch of advice, and they don't know anything about you, they're not gonna listen to you. They're not gonna listen to anything that they have to say. But if you help them, if you meet them where they're at, and if you show they care about them, then they're more willing to help you. Then they'll be okay. I want to hear what this person has to say. That's how we have to be with the masses. Because how else are they going to fight for socialism if they don't know that socialism is for them? Because socialism is the people. That's all it is. Right. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think you make a lot of good points. Kind of like synthesize what I was talking about and put the other aspect to it as well. Like it's a dialectical process between a mass base and a political party. And I think they was trying to. I don't think they really understood protracted struggle for real at that time. You know what I mean? Like people don't make like qualitative leaps in their consciousness within a year's time. Where like you're, I think it's good that they was reading like you know, all the books by Marx and Lenin, but I think that was like an overload for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Very
Like,
praxis.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people like was ready for like to make that leap that quick. You know what I'm saying? I think like that's what the mass base is for, is to, you know, to develop that, where by the time they get to like become a part of the political party, like they've already made that conscious leap. You know what I'm saying? But you see right here, this is even leaders trying to like come to terms with these concepts, and trying to understand like what's the direction of the revolutionary movement has to go. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the some of the confusions I see at that time, because you got people that's a part of that that's not fully communist, that's not fully socialist. It might be people that was a part of that that had anarchist views, national like cultural nationalist views. You know, it's like it was a mix thrown in there, where all these views was wrestling with each other. But that's more so for a mass base to deal with that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have a mass base, is to deal with those conflicting political lines and to win people over to a scientific orientation. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead, Shanti. And I appreciate that, Gabby. I think you you know, put some meat and bones on and added on to what I was getting at. You know what I mean? Because
Right on.
you can't tell the masses. You definitely can't tell the masses. But that's why you have structures in place where you don't tell the masses. The party is in a different space than what the mass base is. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
the whole point is to elevate them to that level through time, through protracted people's war.
Right.
Go ahead.
It's a process that, like, this whole chapter just screams like this is not how to organize at all. They were trying to steer away from the London base, but did not want to fully abandon them, and trying to do this education thing where it was talking about like 3 generations, or you know, something like that, explain like how like a person, how individual becomes a lumpen, and it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. And you know, the central committee deeming some of the young the YLP members as enemies of the people, misusing Maoist language, like it was a hot mess. But once again, this is a look into how to not organize, because they were trying to leap and leap and leap without having it be a process, because once again they were becoming dogmatic, and they were literally falling apart at the seams. Like it was literally a whole clusterfuck. So they had to become dogmatic. They had to become like a dictatorship, really. And that was essentially how they even collapsed further, because once again they were trying to leap and leap and leap further, but not having it where it's a process of meeting the people where they're at, and you know, developing the mass basis class consciousness to the point where they can get to the theory stage. That's why you have different stages, because you have to meet the people where they're at first, and then you can apply, you know, anarchist thought, communist thought, socialist thought, Marxist thought to it. It's a process, and they were not doing that process right. It was essentially leaping, but not allowing it to grow. And they were also not adapting to, you know, the changing material conditions within their party and around their main base. You know, the leap to Puerto Rico, which was a complete disaster. Even though they did do one thing right, they did make clear that the Afro-Taino lumpen proletariat vanguard was the real leaders in the movement for independence of Puerto Rico, not the European white petty bourgeois puppet peoples that were taking over the Nationalist Party of Puerto Rico and those independence factions. But besides that, once again, it was a whole hot mess. And, they were once again leaping, but, not growing. And, once again, that classist part, against the lumpen and making it, once again, trying to make it once again into an individual phenomenon, what they tried to do with that whole thing, not willing to abandon their lumpen base, it was wrong. It was wrong. It was completely wrong. And, once again, this is how you don't, this is how not to organize. Like, it's like they forgot the whole point of the Lincoln Hospital takeover, because the South Bronx is literally largely lumpens and proletariats. And they completely forgot about the lumpen aspect. And, once again, trying to make it into a worker dictatorship, really, and abandoning the lumpen base, looking down on them. And it just did not work. It just did not work. It didn't work.
I'm going to put it in historical context. This wasn't just the young lords that was wrestling with this stuff. Like the Black Panther Party and a lot of groups at this time were wrestling with like how to build a revolutionary movement. This why I feel like we have to pay attention to this part of history, or we're gonna repeat the same mistakes over again in this generation. Like the Black Panther Party, they didn't have no mass base. You dig what I'm saying? People came straight into the Black Panther Party. Sometimes they were straight COINTELPRO agents that were sent in. That's why, let's keep it 100. Like if you can talk, you can line up 100 Black Panther elders right now. Let's keep it 100, and you'll have 100 different political, ideological worldviews. You know what I'm saying? You'll have some hardcore Marxist, Leninist, Maoists, and then you'll have some cultural nationalists, Black separatists, political ideological lines. That's because people could become a Black Panther, but it wasn't going through a mass base that to develop their political consciousness to make that qualitative leaps where they understood the ideological political line of where the Panther Party was coming from. This is a mistake that a lot of revolutionary movements has made for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And this is why, like, I think this chapter, that's why I'm focused on this. I'm gonna have to leave pretty soon, and I know Chase gonna go back to the Attica thing. I think that in its own right is a lot of discussion, but I just wanted to emphasize this before we leave, because I do feel before I get off of here, I feel like this generation has to look at this question that our comrades was wrestling with, because if we don't, we not gonna understand how to resolve contradictions and how to apply the mass line of what Mal was talking about. You know what I'm saying? And structural ways to do things is a way that we resolve some of these contradictions, where we don't confuse contradictions. Like contradictions within the mass base is different from contradictions that's in a political party. You know what I'm saying? And when you confuse those contradictions because of organizational structures, then you start to go in a different direction, because the masses start to feel like you're being commanded and you're doing this, but you're mixing two different contradictions within the same structure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize this, because I feel like this is a lesson in history that the original Black Panther Party young lords are telling us. Listen to us.
Learn from us.
Yeah, listen to us. This is where we went wrong. This is where we went wrong. You know what I mean?
Comrade Kwame, I just want to I want to add to what you were saying about how you can have 100 Panther elders and they'd have 100 different opinions. Prime example of this is later on with Huey and Eldridge Cleaver. That's a prime example of that, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, so like, yeah, just think about this. like today within our movements out here, you know what I'm saying? What ways can we adapt? This is why we do these political education readings, book readings and stuff, is because these are case histories. If we're to be a revolutionary is to be a scientist. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We all social scientists. So we're taking a case study of history, analyzing it, putting it under the microscope. You're going to dissecting it, pulling back layers. It's like we doing surgery, going in there and see what's wrong with the kidneys and what's wrong with the liver, and then we stitch it back up and saying, okay, now our body's better now. You know what I'm saying? This
Right
is
on.
surgery that we're doing from looking at these case studies. And this is one of the most important examples. And I just want to emphasize this because our generation has to understand this. You know what I'm saying? We have to understand the difference between mass base and political party. You know what I'm saying? If we're a mass base, we need to call this structure a mass base and understand the contradictions of what a mass base is. And then we have to develop political parties in relation to that mass base. So I just want to put that out because I think this is something that's overlooked from history that our generation sometimes overlook. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Beautifully said, comrade. Beautifully said. All power to the people.
Power. Well, I see y'all Sunday. I'm gonna try to jump on that. But I appreciate this conversation. I'm gonna y'all can go on as long as y'all want. You know what I'm saying? I know this is gonna go on for a minute.
Did we finish that chapter?
Yeah, we finished that reading. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So at some point, I need to address a few issues.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Alyssa's still the host, so it's not gonna cut out when I leave this. But I just want to appreciate this discussion, comrades, and hey, all power to the people.
All power to the people.
Well,
okay, Jay. Hit it off, man. Hit it off. I know you have a lot to say, man.
Okay. I first started by saying that in 1962, no, 61 to be exact, I got arrested and was arrested and put in jail. Moving forward, a few years, like 5 years later, I ran into some 5%ers on whom they started talking to me about the 5%ers, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it sounds so good to me that I got involved with them, you know, and I became a 5%er for about 2 years. Then in the process of time, I ran into some nationalists, Puerto Rican nationalists, and they gave me some insights. And it sounds so good, man, because it was talking about Don Pedro Albizu Campo, you know, which was one of the greatest leaders in Puerto Rico. And so I got involved with them, and getting involved with them politically, I put myself out there for the establishment to harass me, which they did, to torture me, which they did, and go from one prison to another, which I did. I visited all 5 prisons in New York State, New York State. Nevertheless, what happened when I went from that prison, I went to Auburn, and it was at Auburn that I came across some Panthers that were coming in from the city, you know, because during the 60s, you know, it was massive rebellions throughout New York State prisons, as well as New York jails, you know. And so a lot of people that were rebelling in these jails were going upstate, and going upstate meant going to prison. And so when I went to Auburn, I met the Black Panther Party, you know, and they took me under their wing and gave me what I needed. Really, they gave me what I needed. It was hard at first, but I gained a lot of insight. and I became involved. I became involved with the Black Panther Party. I became a Panther. A Panther. That basically, that's what I'm saying. And so I was transferred from Auburn to Attica. You know, mind you, this is two prisons I already visited. The first one was Eastern Correctional. The second one was Auburn, and now Attica. I went to Attica in 1969 during the time that there was some organizing being done, but it was unorganized. The groups that were there were unorganized. There wasn't really, you know, they didn't have no political base. They were just organized. They were just wanted to have a strike in the metal shop, but they didn't know how to go about doing it. And so when I went to Attica with some of my brothers that were transferred there as well, you know, we got together and we planned to do a well-established, organized metal strike in Attica, you know. And the metal strike, man, it was because of wages, man. You know, the wages wasn't up to par, man. I mean, they gave us every month they would pay us, and we wasn't getting anything, man. So we were. But one of the things that I raised, you know, was the fact that Latinos needed to have established, you know, people coming in that spoke Spanish so that they could be able to relate to them. And it's, you know, because a lot of Latinos in Attica did not understand, they could not even speak English, you know, so they had a problem. So when I went to Attica, one of the things that I saw was to establish a party, an organization like the Black Panther Party. So I spoke to some of the brothers, and they said, "Yeah, we'll help you do it," you know, and we did it. We established the first young law party in the New York State prison, and I became the chairman of it. You know, but there was nobody but me and some Panthers, so I had to do some organizing amongst amongst the you know, amongst the prisoners, and in 3 weeks' time, I had 20 people already lined up to become young laws. You know, I'm sorry I use that term, line up, but they became young laws, and because I was talking about Puerto Rico, basically. I was talking about colonialism in Puerto Rico, you know, and something, man, that Puerto Ricans in prison back in those days had no idea about, you know. Now remember, rebellions in prisons has always existed. You know, ever since the first prison, there was always rebellions. So we established a little organization. In a few weeks, we established an organization, and I was able to give people official positions. You know, like Minister of Information, chair, no, not chairman, Minister of Education, Secretary, etc., etc., etc. You know, and that's how we established. So I send out a message to the young laws outside in the streets, you know, and they send a message back that it was okay for me to establish an official young law party in Attica. You know, now this IP something that they talked about in the paper that was in Attica, I don't know nothing about those people. For me, they never existed. You know, the Attica Liberation Fraction came about in 1970. You know, and it was a result of some of us. We planned to reorganize a new group. You know, so we took some people from the Young Laws, and we took some people from the Panther Party, and we established the Attica Liberation Fraction, which was composed of 5 people, really. And they was specifically their whole history was to put together demands to be presented to the establishment. And they did that. You know, they put together what became became a manifesto, and we send it out. We send it out to the commissioner. The commissioner looked at it and came to visit, but we put the Attica Liberation Fraction was people that were out in the front. We was in the background doing all the work, but they were out in the front. And so he came to see the Attica Liberation Fraction, and he met with a few brothers, you know. And what happened was that he said, yeah, okay, we'll look into it, and we'll get back to y'all. And he never did. He never got back to us. So right a little time after that, the what you call it, the metal shop site jumped off, and so they picked me up. You know, they gathered a lot of us and put us all in segregation, and then some of us got transferred, and I got transferred to Auburn Prison. And it was in Auburn Prison that I met Jose Paris, the one they talked about in the paper, in the book. Jose Paris, his name was G.I., you know, and he said, yeah, well, Chad, you know, like, what we gonna do, man? Because I'm working here with the Panthers, but we need an organization. I said, yeah, okay, you know, like, we do the young laws. So I gave him my position as the chairman. I said, yeah, I'll take care of the education part. And he said, good. So we established the Young Law Party in Green Haven. So that's the second Young Law Party. And then we send out another message to the young laws in the streets. So they already knew that there was two organizations in New York State Prison, one in Attica and one in Green Haven Prison. 8 months later, my people, I was transferred back to Attica. It's like a ping pong ball, man. But who came with me? Jose Paris came back with me, and we started organizing the young laws in Attica, and it got big. The young laws really got big. We were military all the way. We were doing exercises in the yard. You know, there was time for exercises. There was time to do political work. There was time for us to do military discipline, which meant, you know, various, you know, some of the brothers, man, knew Kung Fu, and some of the brothers knew karate. So we put that in there too, you know, and it was very powerful, very powerful. And so let me jump off, go into Attica, you know. In 71, yeah. In August, Brother George Jackson got killed. And to me personally, you know, it was very it touched me, because I used to be in contact with brother. There were various ways, I can't talk about it because we are but there's various ways you get in contact with people, you know, throughout prison. You know, there's a network set up, and those I something that I don't remember who they talked about, the organization that was sending messages. I don't know nothing about them. I really don't know who they are. You know, I don't know how they came about, because the only people that were really in Attica was the Attica Liberation Fraction, which out of that came the People's Party. You know, the People's Party came out, was a branch of the Attica Liberation Fraction. But the Young Laws were the Young Laws, and Black Panthers were Black Panthers. And we all used to get together, and so the administration was confused. They didn't know who was who. You know, and that's how we wanted to keep it, to make sure they didn't know exactly who was doing what, you know. And so the brother got killed, and so we held an immediate, you know, gathering in the yard, and talked about what we gonna do, man. Like, something needs to be done, man, you know. And so we came up with a hunger strike, something that has never, ever, ever happened in Attica. You know, and we said this is our procedure. Our procedure was to have black armbands on our arms. Walk into the mess hall. Don't say shit. Just pick up your utensils, walk into the mess hall, sit down, pass the food and sit down. Don't even say shit. And wait until they tell you to get up, and then you get up. will you believe it? That in itself created fear amongst police. I was gonna say another word, but I know you know that word. But anyway, the police got real scared. And so they started gathering, little stories from various snitches, because we knew there were some snitches. And that's one thing about when there's a large party or a large organization, you could bet your dollar, you could bet your last dollar that there's going to be some infiltration. There's going to be some pro involved. There's going to be some snitches in there, some spies and all that shit. We got to expect these things, man. It just happens, because the establishment is in power. If we was in power, it won't happen, but we're not in power, So we went in the mess hall. We didn't pick up none. We went back, and it was very successful. 95% of the population in Attica got involved. 95%. So that was a lot. A lot of white people, man, that never knew nothing about George Jackson. George Jackson, who the hell is he? They got involved. And then 2 weeks later, there was these two brothers, man, sparring in the yard. They were sparring in a yard. And then the police came over and said, listen, you got to stop this. You got to stop this. And they looked at the police and said, man, we ain't going to stop it. We sparring. We ain't hurting nobody. They kept on doing it. Then the lieutenant came over and tried to stop it by putting his hands on one of the brothers. And by accident, one of the brothers hit the lieutenant in the chin with his elbow. Nothing happened. It was okay. Lieutenant went on his way. That night, in 6 block, that night, the goon squad came. And the goon squad walked in right into the cells of those two brothers that were sparring and beat the shit out of them, man, and took them out. They were yelling, all that shit. They would beat the shit out of them. And as they passed, one of the Latino brothers, which was a lord, he threw a can at them, at the police. And the police said, we'll come back for you later, but they never did, So the next morning, as everybody was getting ready in A block specifically, because Attica is comprised of 4 prisons. You got A, B, C, D. E is for the goody goodies, and I don't even consider them prisoners, but they're goody goodies. And so the people, they opened up the cells for everybody in A block to go to breakfast, except one cell. That was that Puerto Rican brother whom they didn't open up. And so apparently the police who was involved in opening up the cells must have slipped and left the gate open, and somebody came and put that down, put the lock down, and opened up the cell for the brother, and he went to breakfast with everybody else. When they came out the dining room, everybody was expecting to go to to recreation and etc. But they weren't. They were being sent back into their cells, and brothers started saying, "Hell no, man, we ain't going back to our cells. We need our recreation. We're gonna get it." And that's when all hell broke loose. I was in B block at that time. I was in B block, and I heard the siren. All of a sudden, there was a siren, a loud, very loud siren. I heard it, and I said, "Damn, man, what the fuck is happening here, man? Something happening, man." Because when there's a siren, it's an indication that somebody escaped. And I said, "Damn, who could have been, man? Who escaped? It could be one of my brothers." But I was thinking it was wild. And so as I looked down from where I was, I looked down towards the door that leads to the outside. I seen one of the brothers, man, and the other side, he was banging on it. His name was Sam Melville, and he was a Weather Underground when he was in the streets. And he was banging, and I said, oh shit. All of a sudden, the banging was so much that it opened up the door. And he came in and said, everybody's free. I laughed at the brother. I said, yeah, okay, brother, I'm free, but I'm still in prison. So he said, go ahead, man. So I started, I was walking towards where everybody was walking towards D Block. And as I walked, I seen hostages being taken, mention no name, and I said, damn, man. So when I got to the yard, I seen a circle of police that were hostages. I said, damn, man, this shit is serious here, man. So I went and called a meeting with the rest of the Young Lords, the Black Panthers, and the People's Party, and the African Liberation Fraction. And I said, damn, man, what's happening here, man? They said, well, we got some serious shit in our hands, man. We got to deal with it as fast as possible, because most of everybody in this yard, man, drugging and drinking and doing all kinds of shit. We need to put that to a stop. I said, yeah, okay. So somebody spoke to one of the brothers, man. His name was Champion. He was a lawyer, a prison lawyer, a jailhouse lawyer, let me put it that way. And he said, okay, I'm talking to him. So he took a bullhorn and he said to the brothers, man, listen, man, we are in a serious situation and we need to come together and stop all the bullshit, because this is a serious situation. It's about a matter of life and death. Either we're going to be real about this or they're going to come in here and kill us all. So we need to get real. And for the matter of half an hour, the whole population changed their whole perspective on things. Everything was organized. So we decided to formulate a central committee within the yard. I call it central committee. They call it something else, but I call it central committee. And we chose, for each yard, 5 people to be on the table, and that's what happened. It came to be about 20 people on the table, but there were more people because people were lined up in the back of the tables, standing in the back of the table. So you could say about 30, 35 people were surrounding that table. And some of them was security, which one of the brothers named Big Black, he was appointed to be the head man of security. So he was the one who organized for the hostages to be protected, really protected by Black Muslims. The Black Muslims took over that type of responsibility to protect the hostages for no harm to being done to them by anybody. Because there were some brothers out in the yard who wanted to kill some hostages, and we couldn't have fought that, man. We couldn't allow that to happen, because if that was the case, then the police said, well, fuck it, man. These people don't give a fuck. Neither do we. And they'll come in doing their shit, man, And so we didn't allow that. And so the meeting went good. We decided to call people to come from the streets. We had reporters come in. We had senators come in. We had Young Lords, Brother Fee, and Jose Paris, GI. He's the one that was in the yard with me, remember? And so, he went home 2 weeks before. I forgot to say, he went home 2 weeks before the Attica Prison. So he was lucky. And so we chose a lot of people to come in, and so we had a very stable observation committee. Let me call it that. And what happened was we started discussing. We formulated some demands, the same demands that we had for the Attica Liberation Fraction, the same demands that we used, man, for L.D. Barkley, was one of our leaders who decided to talk. He's the one that said, this is the sound before the fury. of those who are oppressed. You know, that was part of the message to the world, you know, because the Attica actually stung the world. There was nobody in the world ever even knew that there was such a thing as Attica until Attica happened. You know, everybody started realizing, what the hell is Attica? What is Attica? They didn't even know what Attica was. As a matter of fact, some reporters, Tom something, I forgot his name, that came in, you know, he said he didn't even know that Attica even existed. You know, he was told that an Attica prison, and Attica prisoners want you to go up there, and I don't know who they are. I don't even know what Attica is. And that's how, so the rebellion itself brought impact upon the world, and it woke up a lot of people to the inhumane conditions. Now, let me say something about Attica. There was one shower a week and a toilet paper once a month. One roll of toilet paper once a month.
Once a month?
Once a month. A roll of toilet paper once a month. And if you have to do your thing, man, you'll be in trouble. You'll be in trouble, man. But once a month. That's how it was. It was once a month. You had toilet paper once a month. And so we negotiated, and we felt, you know, that the negotiation was good. What was that? The negotiation was good, and so, you know, we felt that, you know, we was accomplishing things because, oh, see, I also forgot the Black Panthers came in. Bobby Seale and Big Man, I think it was. His name was Big Man. He came in, and two other brothers came in. They only stood about 5 or 10 minutes, and then they left. Why they did that up until this day, I don't know why. You know, but we're not going to talk about that now. You know, because that creates a lot of conflicts, and we don't need it. So after 4 days, one of the hostages that were taken as a hostage, when he was injured that same day, the first day he was injured, we put him on some roller bed and send him out to the police and told him, hey, take this man and send him out straight to the hospital. He's injured, seriously injured. But they didn't do that. They kept him there for a whole few hours. And so he died at their responsibility, not ours. It wasn't our responsibility. But yet we was accused of it, you know, of killing, of murdering Quinn. His name was Quinn. He's the one that opened up that opened and closed all the gates to all the prisons. I'll say prison because Attica is for prison. So all the prisons, he's the one responsible for the gates. But when we was able, when people, let me say it this way, when people were able to open up that gate and take him hostage, it was a game of cards, man. You know, because that opened up to all the prisons, so everybody had access to come out and start running towards D-Yard, because that's where everything happened, at D-Yard. You know, so 4 days later, he happened to die in the hospital, and so the negotiation that we had going with the administration, you know, went to waste, because now the administration said they can't give us no leeway because there was death. Somebody died, as one of the guards died. But we didn't kill him. Nobody killed him. They killed him. They're the ones that murdered him. Why? Because he was alive when he was put in their hands. He was injured, but he was alive. They should have taken him and drive him straight into the hospital, but they didn't do that. You see, so who's responsible? I'll let you figure that one out. And so that was a game of cards for us. And we knew, man, that we had our last deck, man, we was running out of cards. We didn't know what to do now, man, because I mean, there was death, and death means capital punishment, and there's no negotiation for no capital punishment, you know. Some people, man, I'm not gonna mention no name, I hope you know who I'm talking about, talked about going to a non-imperialistic country. That was part of the demands that was written into it for everybody to go to those who wanted to go to a non-imperialistic country, and that wasn't even discussed because people didn't see it like that. A lot of people said, no, we don't want to go to no non-imperialist country. We want to resolve the issues right here. And so they had a point. So, we left it like that. So after 4 days of negotiation, everything came to a halt, and now we were figuring out what we're going to do, and there was nothing else to do but to press the administration to press on the governor. We went to the governor, Nelson Rockefeller, to come to the prison to see us, and he refused to do that. He felt, man, that if he would have came, he would have been a hostage. I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about that. But the thing is, we wanted him to come, and he didn't come. And so as a result of that, the fifth day was a Sunday. The fifth day was a Monday, and it was a rainy Monday. And all of a sudden, I look up in the sky, and I see this helicopter coming into the yard. I said, "Oh shit! Here comes that plane. I'm gonna be on it." I thought I thought it was a plane that was coming in to take us to non-imperialistic country. I said, "Here it comes," but it wasn't. It was a helicopter that was full of gas. They threw down the gas, and as soon as they threw that pepper gas down in the yard, oh God! If you ever had any pepper gas on that thrown at you, you could see the face feel like it was burning. You had to shut your eyes, and as soon as that gas hit me, I went down. I went down on the ground, and everybody couldn't see. The whole yard was full of smoke. There was nothing. You can't see nobody. And all of a sudden you see a helicopter talking about surrender to the nearest officer and you will not be harmed. Now, how the hell can you surrender when you can't even see where the hell you go? That's ridiculous. You can't see where you go, but yeah, you're going to surrender. How can you surrender? You may surrender to another brother. But nevertheless, after that, all you hear was shots. There was about 4,000 bullets that were thrown in 20 minutes. 4,000 bullets. Can you imagine? What's this?
4,000 bullets. Damn.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
4,000 bullets, man. It was a lot of. I mean, they came in shoot. I mean, they were shooting at everybody who was moving. They didn't care who was moving. If you were moving, you get shot. So as I had as I was on the ground, I felt somebody put their feet on my head. He said, "Move, move." I ain't gonna say the other word. Move and. And I was trying to move, man. I couldn't move. He said, "Move and move." But there was also other brothers that were being shot right on the spot. Shot right on the spot, man. There was a brother that was taught that as I started crawling, I heard this brother say, "Chick, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay, man." And we were crawling in the mud. And then all of a sudden, I didn't hear that brother no more. He got killed. And they were kicking me all in my ribs, kicking me in my head. He said, "Move, move." you know, and then at some point they said, get up. So I got up and to take your clothes off. Took my clothes off, said, go over there. I go to this other line where these other brothers are walking around in a circle, you know, and I started walking around in a circle for a few minutes. And then they all of a sudden they took me out of that circle and said, come on. They put me up against this wall where they had some brothers there already with X's on their backs and some I don't know, state trooper, you know, was behind us with a rifle. He was ready, man. He was ready to kill us. And so they put the next on my back and put me up against the wall with my head on the wall and my arms like that. And a few minutes passed, and then I heard this guy, I think he was a lieutenant. I don't know what the fuck he was, but he was something. And he said, what's your name, Chair, right? I said, yeah, my name's Chair. He said, who you want us to contact? I said, what you talking about? He said, who you want us to contact? I said, what are you talking about? Because I was getting nasty, though. Who do you want us to contact? I said, contact my sister in Puerto Rico, man. You know, you need to fuck alone. You know, they said, okay. But they don't have no ID, no phone, so I knew, man, they were getting ready to kill us. And so just about when they're ready to aim at us, there was this Senator Dunn, I will never forget him. He came out in the catwalk because, by the way, he was also part of the Observers Committee. So he knew what was happening. He came out and he looked down at that specific spot where there was about 9 of us lined up on the wall. They said, no, don't do that. He was telling the police, don't do that. I don't want to see that. And so we were saved. Nevertheless, we had to run a gauntlet. And this gauntlet was no joke. And as we running with our hands on our back, on our heads, we running, we getting hit with clubs, we getting hit with sticks, we getting hit with guns, we getting hit all, and every part of our body was being hit, you know. And every time I fall, and the only thing that got me going was, I said, your name is Chad, motherfucker, get up. I tell myself, I psych myself, I say, your name is Chad, get up. I get up, I keep running, fall again, get up, keep running, and that's how I made it to the other side. So they put me in a cell, and there was 2 other brothers in that cell that were injured. There were dead people in the yard. There was a lot of dead inmates in the yard, a lot of them. You know, a lot of them were shot. There was a lot of people that were injured. There was no medical attention, no nothing, you know. And so they put me in the cell, the last cell, by the way. And so I sit down and I was talking to them brothers in the cell, and I said, damn, brother, you know, you need to see a doctor, man. One of them was shot in his chest. You know, he said, yeah, I know. And then this Slav, I'm use a better word, Slav, came to my cell and said, your name Chernievich? I said, yeah, that's my name. He said, come here. So I came over to him. He said, I want you to do something for me. I said, what's that? He said, I want you to put your chin on the bars. I said, are you joking? He said, no, I'm for real. I want you to put your chin on the bars. So I started thinking, man, and I said to myself, man, if I don't do what this dude says, that he might kill me, man, you know. And I was wondering, man, if I'm dead, what use am I to people? You know? So I said, well, okay. I put my chin on the bars. And he took out his gun and he cocked it. Russian roulette, y'all. And he put it here. and clicked. Nothing came out. He said, "Oh, you lucky motherfucker. But I'll catch you next time." He said, "Meanwhile, you keep your chin in the bars. I'll be back." So I kept my chin in the bars, man. You know, I was getting pissed off, man. Really, you know, but it would have been no good for me to you know, not play the game, because that was not but a fucking game, you know. And so another guy came over and said, "Chad, you could take the chin off the bars and we could go sit down and relax." I said, "Okay." So I went and sat down. Half an hour later, the other asshole came back. He said, "What you doing, man, sitting down? You're supposed to have your chin on the bars." I said, "Oh, God." I said, "Yeah, okay, here, man, go ahead, shoot me." And he cocked his gun. When again, nothing happened. He said, "Oh, man, you are lucky. You are one lucky person. I'll be back. Keep your chin on the bars." So he left. About an hour later, this other guy came over and said, "Listen, you know, take your chin off the bars and sit down." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I took it down. And that was it. That was it for that, man. But the thing is that they played Russian roulette. Meanwhile, there were hundreds of brothers, man, in that yard that were, man, injured, seriously injured. There was 29 inmates, I'll say inmates, brothers that were murdered, you know, by the police, you know. In addition, there was 10 other brothers that died later on. A lot of people say this, but died later on, you know, so it was in 29, it was 39 people actually in real life that died in that yard, in addition to 10 of their hostages that were killed. And the reason why the hostages were killed, because they were beginning to support us. That's why they got killed, because most of the guards that got killed, they were supporting us. You know, there was a point where reporters went to the circle where the hostages were and asked them, "How you being treated?" "Oh, we being treated very well, very well, very well." And that's real. We treated them much, much, much greater than they ever treated us. You know, they never treated us the way we treated them. You know, and so that's you know, there's a lot of other parts that I don't want to get into, but you know, 62 brothers, man, like 6 months later, were indicted by the state of New York for various crimes, starting with murder, you know, and hostages and taking hostages and looting, all kinds of crazy, stupid charges. And eventually, they all had to be dropped because they could not prove it. It was a shame. They could not prove none of it. Yet there was only 2 people that actually got indicted and convicted. Was one a Native American? He was Native American, Dr. Dewey. John Hills, his name was, and the other one was Charles Penalesi. You know, he was also Native American. So they were accused of Quinn, the hostage that died in that yard. So that's who. But eventually, after they got convicted and all that, their charges were dropped because the governor who came, I forgot his name, who came into power during a few years later, he decided to drop all the charges against all the Attica brothers, you know, provided, as well as all the charges against any charges that may be brought against police. You see the game? The snake kind of behavior. You know, I'm gonna drop all the charges against you, but you can't accuse none of mine of any crimes. That was the bottom line, and that's what they did. You know, and not only that, but they said, "We're gonna bury Attica for 50 years, which means that you can't talk about Attica, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And You know, I know they took to Attica, et cetera, until 50 years. But it's been 52 years now. And we're still talking about Attica, you know. So I want to thank everybody for listening. You know, I didn't stress too much on your laws on the outside because I was more of a young law on the inside. But the thing is that young laws is young laws regardless where you at. Regardless where you at. Just like a Black Panther is a Black Panther, regardless where you at. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, and I'm always gonna be a young lord. I'm a young lord now. You know, so when I leave this planet, I'm gonna leave with a smile, and I'm gonna also know that I did a lot to accomplish a lot of things. You know, and that's all we all have to do. The same. Thank you. I dismiss myself.
Right on, Captain. Right on, comrade. And as you said before, we're all Attica. Every single one of us, we're all Attica.
Yeah, Attica is
Attica is
all of us. Attica is all of us, which means basically what it means is what happens to people in the streets is the same that happens to people in the prisons. You know, what triggered Attica was the conditions in prison, you know, not because of two people died, sparring, because there's some stories out there as to how Attica started. No, Attica's been going on for many years. Attica began, the first Attica rebellion happened, you know when? When the first slave ships came to the United States, the Western world. That's the first Attica, you know? So, I mean, I could go on and on.
No.
Go ahead. I want to hear somebody else.
All power to the people.
All power.
I mean, I can honestly say what happened in the rebellions at Attica is a grave reminder to all of us that even the tools of the bourgeoisie are not protected, no matter what, because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Those prison guards were also cattle to them. They always been cattle. Everyone is cattle to the bourgeois system. That's the whole point. We've been saying this for years and no one wanted to listen. This year, they're now starting to see it, but back then they were making it very crystal clear. Look at what happened when they shot all those bullets in the yard. 10 guards were also scapegoats as well. We've been saying this, that no one is protected. Not the police officers, not the veterans, not the government employees, not the prison guards, no one, nobody, no one is safe from the violence of the bourgeois system. What happened when they shot those bullets in that yard is a clear reminder to all of us, once again, that Attica is all of us, because we know that we can be next. We know that even the tools of the bourgeoisie are next. We know those people are next too. It doesn't matter how loyal you are to this system. It doesn't matter how loyal you are to the concentration camp complex. It does not matter, because the fact of the matter is they were killed because those guards started to see reality. They were having that breakthrough. They were having a breakthrough happening with them. They saw what was actually happening. And the bourgeoisie did not want that. They did not want that breakthrough to go any further. So they killed them, because they were having that revolutionary breakthrough that went against what the bourgeois system wanted. They were having a breakthrough. They were starting to see the actual conditions in which they were in. They were actually starting to be on the side of the subjugated peoples of this complex, the Attica complex, and they had to go because they were having that breakthrough. Like I said, no one is safe. No one is protected. Everyone is a dummy. Everyone is a scapegoat. They will drop you in the corner of a street, or in this case, a yard if they have to.
Everyone's a tool.
Everyone is a tool, and they will do anything and every single thing to keep itself up, even if it means sacrificing 10 of its tools. We're all Attica, and this is a clear-cut example of it. And especially this year, we've seen that Attica is all of us, because we're in a concentration camp within a concentration camp within a concentration camp, one of the longest running concentration camps in the world, made off the backs of our ancestors, made off the genocide of indigenous people, the enslavement of my ancestors, indigenous Africans, the peonage of the Irish and other people that were not considered white, but had to make nice and become white in order for it to continue. They're not safe either. The Ku Klux Klan is not safe either, because those people don't know who they are. Yet they're being used as a scapegoat by the bourgeoisie, not understanding that they will be discarded too. David Duke, all those people, they don't understand that they would be discarded, because it doesn't matter how well they are to their white identity. It doesn't matter how well they are to the bourgeois system. They are next. They are next. And as we've seen in this pandemic too, no one is safe, not the thin and healthy. Now there's everyone vomiting on the sidewalk in the schools. Children are literally getting disabled, being discarded. No one is safe under this system. We've been saying this. We've been saying this for years. And a lot of people did not want to listen to the subjugated peoples in Attica. No one wanted to listen to the people of South Bronx, of Chicago, of Detroit. No one, almost no one, because we were immediately repressed when we tried to. And now look at what's happening. We're all Attica. No one is safe. And this is a clear-cut example of that, especially the guards. It's a clear-cut example that no matter how loyal you are, once again, you are not safe. You are not protected. Those people will kill you. Those people will suppress you if you even have a breakthrough on being on the side of the lumpen of the proletariat. They will kill you. They will kill you. They will neutralize you. They will repress against you. They'll make up any excuse to repress you, to neutralize you, and go to the next person. That is how they work. That is how the bourgeoisie works. We are all Attica, no matter what. No matter how hard you try to downplay it, we are Attica. Attica is all of us and the land. It's everything under this system. Everything.
Everything. Because what happened in Attica is interconnected with what's happening out here. Because once again, what happens in Attica and what happens in prisons is just a representation of what's happening in society right now with our everyday lives here. The maximization of profit by any means necessary, no matter how many people get killed, no matter how many people have to suffer, no matter how many nations are made extinct, no matter who is killed in the process, as long as it results in gaining just a little bit more profit, as long as it involves in upholding their interests, they will do anything and everything to uphold their own interests. That's all it is. That's all it is. You're only safe, quote unquote safe, for as long as you're exploitable. But the moment that you're no longer exploitable, the moment you can no longer uphold white supremacy, the moment your body can no longer hold the horrors of what capitalism entails, they'll discard you, replace you, and treat you like you were nothing. Like you are a tool that can be used. And even the cops aren't safe. Even the fascist fucking pigs are not safe, because guess what? Guess what? They're being replaced too by machines. They're being replaced too.
Machines are not
No
safe.
one's safe.
Even machines are not safe, because that's the whole point. That's the whole point. It's capitalism in decay.
That's fascism.
They are crumbling. So they have to use whatever tactic they can in order to survive whatever they have left, because they know that it's not sustainable and that it will not last. Of course it would not last. Have we not seen the past 531 years what they've done to our ancestors, what they've done to our resources, what they've done to this planet?
To the land and the people?
To the Tainos, trying to exterminate all of them, even though we know that they're still here. And even if they're still here, erasing them on paper. Have we not seen what happened with the crack crisis, the AIDS crisis, the crime bill, Emmett Till? Have we not seen it? Have we not seen what happened with the heroin epidemic that predated the so-called war on drugs, the war on gangs, whatever war they want to make in order to justify its dominance? Have we not seen that? Have we not seen it? Have we not warned enough people how many times about this? That they are not safe either? How many times? How many years? How many times have we told them? How many times have we tried to warn them that they are under attack, that we are at war? We are collectively at war, that we are all Attica, essentially. And they did not want to listen. And look at them now. Look at us now. We're not
right on. Comrade Trey, I saw that you raised your
Yeah,
hand, by the way.
Yeah. I just want to, say something real quick there.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to Attica is all of us, we need to understand also that Attica means fight back.
Yes.
It means we need to fight back with all our will, all our desires, with the intentions of eventually winning the war.
We fight back. We fight back with principle.
Fight back. I don't know. But Attica means fight back also.
Yeah.
So we need to fight back at all times.
At all times, we fight back with proper principled organization.
It's either revolution or it's death. Those are the only two options we have. It's either moving forward and actually developing further as a society, as a species, or we all die under capitalism. Because capitalism requires infinite growth on a finite planet with finite resources and a finite existence. There is no such thing as enough for capitalism. There is no such thing as an end for capitalism. It's like a hunger that can never be quelled. It's like an insatiable thirst for more and more and more and more and more.
More and more and more. Look at what's going on in Philadelphia. Look at what's happening in New York with the flooding again. That's what happens when we become zombies under this system. We don't know how to fight back. We don't know how to organize. We don't know how to use all of our will to fight back against this system that is literally poisoning us, poisoning every single aspect of us. That is what Attica also means, is to fight back by any means. Because you cannot keep going to the voting ballots and think that you're going to get adequate housing. You cannot do that. You also need to fight back with organization, with principle, so that we know how to get our destiny back. That's what Attica also means, reclaiming your destiny back by all and any means necessary for yourself, for your people, for the planet, for the land, for the community. Your history is in your hands if you fight back. If you fight back, and if you really truly understand that you will be next, no matter how loyal you are to the bourgeois system, no matter how much you call for the National Guard to be in your communities to get, quote unquote, everyone back in line, you will be killed by them too. That means you fight back against them. Fight back, become organized, become principled, and fight back. Train to fight back for your life, for your community, for your ancestors, especially because we have gone through a long, hard fight to even stay here, to even be on this call. That means that this is now or never. This is our chance to organize once and for all, to fight back and tear down this system, to bring each other back into reality, to take care of each other, to control our destiny. That is what Attica also means. It's reclaiming your destiny, no matter what. That's it.
Right. If anybody argues that point, they're wrong. Because you're right. You are right. 100% right. We got to fight.
We got to fight.
We got to fight now.
And most importantly of all, not only do we have to fight, but we also have to learn. We have to look back at organizations like the YLP. Look at their mistakes, look at their successes, look at what they got right, what they got wrong, what's applicable, what isn't, and what can we do to implement what they did to our current materialistic conditions while not also making their same mistakes. To not go down the same revisionist, dogmatic road that they did. Because if we remain static in our ways, if we do not actually engage in criticism and self-criticisms, if we do not engage in unlearning our own reactionary thoughts, any thoughts that may be counter-revolutionary, if we don't unlearn them through analyzing our behavior and applying that analysis, through changing how we think and how we view things, through organizing, our movement will die. It will remain static. It will remain in the same place, and it will not grow any further. To be static is to be dead. Simple as that.
I say this. Today's fighters are scientific thinkers.
Right on.
You know, we are scientific thinkers. Everything we say, everything we do, has to be scientific and dialectical.
Right on.
Has to have a reason. The how.
Right on.
Exactly.
We have to. Exactly. The how and the why and how we're going to move forward. Theory and praxis. If theory is like a whetstone, praxis is the knife. Theory sharpens praxis, but praxis changes theory. You know, it's the application of theory through praxis that enables us to adapt our theory, change it, and expand upon and improve our own ideological and political line. That's one of the things that led to the YLP's decay. It's the fact that they remained dogmatic. They didn't change and adapt their ideological and political line to the ever-changing materialistic conditions. They didn't expand upon it. They unfortunately did not listen to the criticisms, the valid and principled and scientific criticisms that their Chinese comrades gave when they took that trip to China. They didn't listen to them. They didn't acknowledge what they were actually saying.
Right. They didn't. Like, you can tell what happened after that when they tried to, once again try to make the lumpen out as if, it's an individual phenomenon or something like that, whatever bullshit they tried to do with that education program, whatever you can, if you can even call it that. To be a revolutionary is to be scientific. To be a revolutionary is to be a dialectical materialist. To be a revolutionary is to educate, no matter what. As revolutionaries, we don't get the right to not educate anyone for any reason. That's what Thomas Sankara said, right? But you have so many collectives, so many so-called revolutionary collectives and groups today that don't even practice that. They don't practice that. That's why lateral harm, lateral violence is so easily, why it easily makes its way and just destroys the whole thing, because there's no principle. There is no kind of solid principle that can keep them going and meet the masses where they're at. To once again, to be revolutionary is to be scientific, not cultural nationalism, not being dogmatic, not being adventurous, not being violent for the sake of being violent. You cannot use your culture alone and call that revolution. You can't do that. And that is the problem that we have also today in this generation. Because we haven't had these systems in so long, we think that we can just use our culture as means of revolution and liberation. And look where that ended us up at, you know, especially in regards to our community, Gabby, and ours, you know, especially in regards to trans people. We tend to confuse culture with theory in practice. Always. We're great mobilizers, but we're not great organizers at all.
That's what they said. That's what they said in the book that they were reading. They said something about that.
Yeah, like once again, we tend to confuse our cultural ways with actually applying it with a revolutionary scientific base. That is why we're still facing violence. That's why we're still facing so many guillotines by the bourgeoisie and their fucking fascist diehards, because we don't know how to organize scientifically. We don't know how to apply the how and the why in a actually class conscious way. We just think that class is just what's important, and that's not that. That is why we are so stagnant, because we're cultural, but we're not political. And even if we are political, it's through the means of assimilating, making nice. And that is what we need to change now. Because once again, there was a new African trans woman that was attacked in Baltimore a few nights ago. Like, we cannot keep using our culture alone and think that we can call that liberation. You can't do that. We need to become political. We need to have strategies that can be able to adapt, not stay in the same place. Okay? We cannot keep staying in the same place and thinking that we're going to meet each other where we're at and be able to properly organize towards the abolition of gender, towards the abolition of the bourgeois system that uphold the secondary contradictions that define the proletariat greatly through so-called racial lines, through so-called gender lines, through so-called sex lines. You know, like, this is what we have to put into mind. We cannot be cultural nationalists and call ourselves revolutionaries. You know, we call ourselves revolutionaries, but you know, we're not. We think that we have the right to not educate anyone. You know, just because. No, you educate no matter what, because you have that breakthrough. That breakthrough will happen. No matter how exhausting it is, you will make a breakthrough. And once again, those guards, they had a breakthrough. and they were killed for having their breakthrough realized. That is what we need to put into account. We have to make these scientific breakthroughs in our struggle so that we can be able to move forward. What the YLP did, with the move to Puerto Rico, once again, becoming a dictatorship within its own party, ironically, and, just, trying to steer away from the lumpen, but not trying to, steer much away, because you have to understand, the subjugated peoples in Attica are lumpens. So that is that class aspect that we have to put into account here. We cannot just look at a person and just make determination, social and political determination based on what we see in front of us. No, we cannot keep doing that. That is how we ended up to this predicament now. Because we don't know how to organize, because we don't know how to properly scientifically analyze our condition. That is why we have these classes, in order to learn from what they did right, what they did wrong. Is it applicable? Is it not applicable to our unique material conditions today? This is the things that we have to put into account. And that needs to change now, because once again, if we don't put that into account, there will be more peculiar weather patterns, and more fascist repression, because they also have in Cop City, they dox every single person's address that signed the petition to stop Cop City. The plight to make nice does not work, because it did not protect anyone either. So we have to change our strategy so that we don't keep making the same freaking mistakes. This is the same freaking mistakes that we keep making.
We can't play nice.
We can't play nice, because once again, the Comp City movement, the dogmatic adventurers that came from up north and over west and took over the movement, that's how Torta ended up being killed. That is how we ended up to the city, to, going to City Hall, signing all these petitions, only for every single person to be doxxed by the city. Really? Did y'all really think that was going to work? Did y'all really think that was making nice is going to, did y'all think that was going to seriously work? They had no strategy whatsoever. Many of us don't have a scientific strategy built up to where it can last beyond 2 months. That needs to change now. That seriously needs to change. Because once again, if we just stay, going to these voting ballots and thinking that we're going to get a freaking miracle, we're going to end up dying. We're going to end up paying the price. We're already paying the price for not putting our foot down soon enough and saying that enough is enough. How do we meet each other where we're at? All these things. That needs to change. Now. Now.
Right on.
Let me say this. Politicians are only there to make people think or believe that they are free.
Yep.
Right.
That's all they're there for. That's all they're there for. The nonprofits, they're just put there to make people believe that they have a choice, that they have quote unquote freedom under the system. It's neocolonialism. That's all it is. It's the illusion. It's the illusion of freedom. It's the illusion of democracy. It's the illusion of choice. That's all it is. It's the illusion of it. The Democrats.
And that's why when people go vote, they swear they're free, and they swear they're gonna win the elections. Everybody that goes through elections don't think they're gonna lose. They all think they're gonna win, but they never win. They always lose.
Yep. They always lose.
Why?
They always lose.
Yeah, and just like with the old Obama, everybody said, we got a black president. We got a black like if
Okay, and what happened with that?
like if we was free. Obama, man, there was more wars in his position in his position than anybody else.
There were more drone strikes under the Obama administration than any other administration ever before.
He's the one that killed Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Did you pay attention to that? Did y'all not pay attention to 2008? Did y'all not pay attention to 2012? Did y'all not pay attention to 2016? Certainly 2020, because that was a joke. That was honestly like a joke. That was a joke. Because once again, they knew that they will lose. They knew that they will be in the same position that we have been for 531 years going on. They knew that nothing was going to change, but they did not care. They did not want to listen. They want to blame the citizens of Tejas and Florida and Flint, Michigan, you know, for their water problems, for not quote unquote voting hard enough. And look at what happened since then. Are you happy now? Are you satisfied now? Like, did you get your freedom? Did you get your rights back? Are you happy now? I mean, seriously. Like, seriously.
The whole Democrat versus Republican thing, once again, that is just another form of divide and conquer. It's an antagonism. It is a class antagonism created to divide the masses. Like Malcolm X said, the conservatives are wolves and the liberals are foxes. The only difference, the only quote unquote major difference, and I use the term major in loose terms, the only major difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is their methodology. The Republican Party destroys everything in their path, and they are blatant about where their ideological and political beliefs lie. Whereas the Democratic Party are performative. They manipulate marginalized groups. They portray themselves as if they are the allies of these oppressed people, when in actuality they are upholding their oppression, doing the exact same thing that the Republicans are doing, but in a quote unquote nicer way. That's the only difference between them. But other than that, they're the exact same. They're the exact same party. Literally the exact same.
They are the exact same. They are literally white wing.
Yep. They're white wing. That's all they are.
Their actions. Like, do we really want to keep living this way? Do you really want to keep living this way? Do you want to keep having floods? Do you want to keep having homeless people be repressed? Do you want to keep having these migrants not be housed, but instead they get tent cities here in Chicago? Where the hell did that come from? How in the hell did we end up here under a Black bully mayor? And Newark building a cop city. They're already starting to build ground on another cop city in Nashville, in Chicago, the tent city. I mean, hello, like they're literally telling you that they do not care for anybody.
They really don't.
It's not a blacks versus illegals fight. It's literally us, all of us, versus the same city government that literally kicked out every African lumpen up in the high rises of Cabrini Green, literally segregated us when we came up here, and literally treated the Scottish and Irish Appalachian folks the same way. Do we really want to keep living this way? Seriously? Seriously? Like, I don't want anyone to make nice anymore. I don't want anyone to make nice anymore, because y'all should have learned from 2020. Y'all should have learned from 2020. And now they're saying that the actual estimate people that have died from COVID, I think counting long COVID, might be 26.1 million people. 26 million people. Mostly for us. And we want to keep voting. We want to vote for Cornell. We want to vote for DeSantis. We want to vote for Biden. Biden trying to go on the picket lines. Have we not seen what happened under him so far?
Yo, he made so many lies. He made so many fucking lies. Do y'all remember? Do y'all remember in the early days of his campaign when he said he was going to forgive all student debt? I knew he wasn't gonna do that. I knew he was never gonna fucking do that shit.
Y'all knew he was not gonna do that. Y'all knew he wasn't gonna do it, and y'all didn't care. Y'all wanted to blame the Southerners for everything because everything's on the Southerners, everything's on the citizens, blah, blah, blah. And now look at your student loan payments literally staying numbers and decimals that we do not have, which is the whole point. But once again, the Southerners are the problem. The new Africans in Tennessee, in Mississippi, in Louisiana are the problem. The Chicanos of Tejas, like that's their problem. How did that work out? How did that hate train go? How did that hate train go? Like this is the point that we're trying to make. I cannot make nice anymore. We've been making nice since we ended up on this continent. We tried, and we tried. And clearly it has not got us any fucking where. You cannot make a dictatorship of the proletariat through a voting ballot under a bourgeois system. You can't. That is impossible because that is the whole point. Like all the evidence, just look at the beginning of this year. From the very beginning of this year to March when they start calling for trans people to be eradicated, the climate warfare, photosynthesis starting to break down under this heat, because once again this is not human driven. It's driven by the bourgeoisie. Once again, blaming human beings alone is eco-fascist. Okay, have we not learned that too? Like the same mistakes that we have been making. The same mistakes that we have been making. We know that there's nothing we can do to get through to them. They're never going to listen to us. That's the whole point. That is the whole point. We have been saying this for years. And look at Philly, look at New York, look at Chicago, look at Detroit, look at California. There's your answer.
Yup. Also, I hear your cowbell. Also, I want to I just want to say I would love to hear everyone else's thoughts on this chapter. I would love to hear everyone else. Melissa, Sean, and Yessie. What do y'all have to say about this?
Come on.
I want to hear what y'all have to say. Come on now. Hello? Anyone there?
I mean,
Comrade Alyssa, you there?
I'm here.
Right on.
Okay.
Right on. Give me 3 minutes. Okay, I just thought that. Well, I think Comrade Alyssa is doing something else. Hey, Comrade Sean. How are y'all? How are you doing? Comrade Sean, I would love to hear what you have to say about all of this.
Well, considering I missed the book reading part, because I was late, just listening to Comrade Shay's story and, listening to you guys, get fired up about it. It's always enjoyable to hear these stories being shared, even though it's generally traumatic for the people who are telling the stories. I mean, you got to relive it to tell it. And, just watching the empathetic effect of these stories changing our thoughts and, kind of like that.
Yeah, and I apologize for not responding right away either. I was actually I went onto YouTube and checked out scientific socialism, and I guess it's from Frederick Engels. So I was like, oh man, so kind of inspired me to want to learn a little bit more about scientific socialism and the whole scientific theory when it comes to how I can utilize it as a revolutionary. And I like the way the comrade had brought out, like it can't just be for your race, or it has to be much more than that. And to go back to listening to Chez experiences, that with the stuff they went through, with putting X's on their back and putting them up like as a target. And if that one, I think he said a senator or something, wouldn't have put a stop to that, we wouldn't even have Comrade Chez here. Or the whole fact of that guard making him put his chin up to the bars and stuff, and then pulling the trigger. I mean, tactical ways of trying to break a person. But anyway, much respect, Comrade Chez. And I didn't really know the extent. I know prison life is down and dirty, and I know a little bit about Attica, but the extent of what you were saying, and you probably held back a lot because you were like, hey, I'm not going to say this part. But much respects, comrade, and that's all.
Thank you.
Right on. And yeah, it has to go beyond just the liberation of one marginalized group or one oppressed group. We need to combat all the contradictions of capitalism, both the primary and the secondary, not some of them, not most of them, all of them. Because if one is left to fester, if one form of reactionary thought is left to fester within the mind of the people and the masses, the revisionists will use it to restore the capitalist road. They will use it to distort, warp, and twist the dictatorship of the proletariat and the class interests of liberation. They will use it to completely twist the point of socialist transformation and what even looks like, how to even adapt and implement the principles of Marxism and dialectical materialism and scientific socialism within our unique materialistic conditions. We have to combat all of it through cultural revolution, through mass line, through grassroots, through survival programs, and meeting the masses where they are at. Once again, to meet the ideological and political needs of the people, you first gotta meet their psychological and material needs. If you don't do that first, they won't follow you. They won't listen to you. They will not. They will not respect you because you have not shown them why they should respect you. You have not shown them why they should give a fuck about class struggle and about revolution. The moment you build that connection with them, the moment you show they give a fuck about them, the moment that you are willing to struggle alongside them and provide for them and meet them where they're at, then they will become scientific. Then they will become organized. Then they will become principled. And once again, that is something that the YLP didn't do when trying to radicalize the most revolutionary class among the proletariat, the lumpen proletariat. They have the most revolutionary potential out of anyone within the proletariat. They have the capability of being the most reactionary or the most revolutionary. It just depends on who
Who
gets to them first. The
fascists
bourgeois,
or the revolutionaries.
exactly. The fascists or the revolutionaries, the reactionaries or the revolutionaries. They
Right.
have the capability of showing the most revolutionary and scientific behavior. It just depends on who gets to them first. And like the role that the peasants played in the Chinese Revolution, the lumpen proletariat will play that same role in our revolution here. That's what's going to happen.
That is what happened. And also, to add on top of that, what a lot of people don't know is that every facet of the proletariat across so-called racial, gender, and other secondary contradictory lines are treated the same way. They just make the illusion that certain facets of the proletariat are inherently, quote unquote, more privileged than the rest. But that's not the case. No, 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 no. They make that illusion, especially in regards to African people. We believe, that the so-called non-black people are doing way more, better than us. The Native Americans, got their reparations. These Mexicans are, getting like 3,000 a month, and we're still here being stagnant. They create that reactionary illusion because that's what they feed off on. The Dalits in India, they're treated the same way as African people. They just don't want to put it out there that they're being treated the same way because once again, they create that illusion that other oppressed, colonized, exploited, and subjugated peoples outside of the African and those of African descent are inherently, quote unquote, more privileged than us, which is not the case. And that is what we have to understand. We have to analyze every facet of the proletariat and the lumpen. Because if we don't, once again, we're going to go off of that revolutionary cultural nationalist trip and thinking that we're making the right analysis when we're not. Every facet of the proletariat is treated the exact same way. It's the main difference is how exploitable are you to them? How much wealth can they get off of you? How much social wealth? How much economic wealth they can get off of you? That's the difference.
Exactly. Beautifully said. Also, Comrade Yessie, I see that you have your hand up.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
We're doing good. How about you, Comrade?
I'm good. I'm so glad it's the weekend. I finally have 2 days off in a row, and
God,
I feel that.
It's just been busy.
I feel that, Comrade. I feel that. And it's so happy hearing you out and hearing that you're doing well. All power to the people. You're awesome, Comrade Yessie.
Well, that's what I'm actually. You guys are awesome too. And I'm sorry I've been missing the actual readings of the book. But I love the discussions. I love the conversations and the stories and getting firsthand not me getting firsthand experience, but hearing the firsthand experience in the struggle, and just surviving, and what systems you have to negotiate, whether it's out here on the streets, whether it's at work, whether it's in the prison system, whatever system you're in, we are always in the system. Even before we're born, we have a record, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So it's crazy, and it's crazy how it has to be documented. And depending on those documents, depending on what side of whatever border you're at, or even what hospital you're born in, will determine the rest of your life, because it's laying that foundation. And depending on where you grow up, where you live, what shade you are, the texture of your hair, will determine how people will classify you and value your worth. based on system of colonialism, and it's all just our reality is a social construct. Like we all made it up. Like it was a collaborative effort to make up these different systems that benefit others and exploit the rest, and creates divide. And as humans, we like to classify, we like to group things together so we can better understand our world, our reality. And that's where we get our stereotypes, that's where we get
caricatures,
like information, essentially information in order to be able to survive and navigate the world. And depending on what you're fed, what you're told, what you're taught, how your family grew up, or if you grew up in the system and didn't have a family, will determine your goggles, your view of the world, your experiences, and how you move about. Estoy en una junta. Estoy en una junta. No. And so growing up, and I think we've all gone through this, but growing up, I used to, be like, okay, this is how the world works. This is how I'm supposed to act. I break the rules. There's punishments. And being the only daughter in my mom's family, growing up in what you would call a first generation home here, but just growing up on the other side of the border, there's different expectations. And if I stepped out of line, it was like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. You're acting like a man. You're a woman. You don't act like that. You're supposed to behave in a certain way and be more feminine and delicate and, I guess, sellable for marriage so you can prosper and flourish in life. But all of this is made up in order to keep the rich rich and the poor poor.
And divide us.
Because divide us, and we could challenge it. Like we can make every decision we make creates a different outcome.
Exactly.
And people will naturally fall in a natural rank. And it's not saying that someone's value is more than the other, but it's ranked by your chances of survival, how you move about the world, how you interact with other people, what connections you have, what you bring and offer to the table. And so people that try to like have more power or strength or like try to be abusive or are abusive, they'll use whatever methods to get more power, more control, and then they'll create that system, that other story, erase the past, say, no, this is the way the world has been. Like, we discovered America. There's nothing here before that, right? Okay, what about
history?
Generations and generations and centuries and millennia of people that have been here,
And civilizations, infrastructures, art.
So it's just all it's just like a video game. It's all a power play, and it's just who's gonna come out on top. And we are in a dog-eat-dog world, but a lot of people think that no, this is the way the world is. This is we're safe. We have these systems in place. So we're protected. Nothing bad's going to happen to us. But then they all freaked out with 9/11. But that's not the first time there's a terrorist or genocide or attack on this soil.
Exactly. Comrade Yessie, were you do you want to say more?
Oh, no. That was just pretty much it. It's just we make our reality and we are in control of what we put out. And just be careful what you put out because we get that tenfold back in one way or another in this life or the next. And I think we're all going through transitional phases, and a lot of us may not be able to adjust, but we have to be adaptable and be able to adjust to the new times. And definitely rely heavily on our history, on our past, on what's worked before, what hasn't, and be able to adapt it to these modern times and modern technologies. Because if we don't adapt, we die, right?
Exactly. To be static, it is to be dead. Also, Comrade Che, I said they put your hand up. You want to say something?
Yeah. The sister said something that made me think. You know, she says that we have a record before we're born, and that's very true. That's very, very true. You know, our social security is a way of the government staying in contact with us indirectly.
Yeah.
You know, without a social security, you can't go nowhere.
Yep.
Right.
You need a social security to be identified by. And remember, that same social security that is used in the United States is the same social security that was used in South Africa.
Right. Right.
It's only a continuation of oppression, really.
It's
Literally.
really. If you
Security
want
is a form of oppression.
it is. It's enslavement. You're automatically cattle. Even if you're not like even fully developed, you know, in the womb, you're still cattle. That's literally the whole point. They go through any avenue in order to keep itself up, to keep people in line, to eventually make nice, you know, and once again, that is enslavement. It's just not in the chattel, the chattel context, but it still applies.
Exactly. It's still and exactly as you were saying before, Shanti, you know, we are all oppressed. We are all screwed. We are all being oppressed and subjugated in some way. The point isn't to say the point is the point of revolution isn't to point fingers and say who's more oppressed, who's less oppressed, which oppression matters more. No, we are all being fucked. The whole point is to end fuckery. That's the whole point. That is
And
the whole,
to literally,
that is the
you know,
whole point. We are all oppressed now. Now, are there are there power dynamics? Yes, of course. We're not denying that there are no power dynamics. We're not denying that there are not privileges that people have over others. But once again, privilege is temporary. It does not last forever. It is an hourglass. It will run out the moment you're no longer exploitable, the moment you can no longer uphold white supremacy. There are power dynamics. There are privileges that other people have, but even so, those privileges will never will not last forever. And regardless, we are all being oppressed. We are all being siphoned of our labor. We are all enslaved under capitalism. Everyone.
Like we know
we're all Attica.
We are all Attica. Like, come on, like
we're all prisoners. We're all prisoners.
We're all prisoners. Like, once again, we're not denying that there's power dynamics, okay? No one is denying that. We clearly know that. I mean, in pigmentocracy, there are interpersonal power dynamics fabricated by the bourgeois system between dark-skinned people and light-skinned people. We know that. We know that. I mean, like, you can literally see for yourself. But once again, the contradictions still apply to that. Because once again, it's not just interpersonal. Just because they're also interpersonal does not make them wholly interpersonal. It's systemic. It's literally a class system, and that is what we have to keep in mind here.
Yep. Race is caste and caste is class. It all goes back to class. It all goes back to profit, money. How can you divide the masses? How can we divide them and take as much labor from them as possible? What is the best way to take as much profit from them while still tricking them into fighting themselves and not realizing who their enemy actually is? That's all it is. It's a rat game.
It's a rat game. And if you want to know anything about caste, just look at the Dalits in India. The Dalit Panthers. I mean, Dalit literally means oppressed or broken. So there you go. Like literally there you go. Like the Dalits, the so-called untouchables of India, you know, they are the very, very bottom of the caste system in India. And because of the brunt of English colonialism in India, you know, I mean that's why Gandhi, you know, was, you know, it's like he was literally a colonialist in sheep's clothing, because you know he degraded my ancestors completely when he came, I believe, to South Africa, to Zulu land, the land of the Zulu people, and you know, literally degraded us, literally dehumanized us, and you know, he hated African people. He hated African people, and he hated Dalits. Mind you, he was at the top of the caste food chain. So, like, of course, it's literally no surprise that he would literally be a colonialist in sheep's clothing, because I mean, just look at what he was actually doing, but like what he was actually saying, you know, he's no hero. He's a colonialist. He's a traitor to the people. Like, it, just if you want to know anything about caste, once again, just go to the Dalits of India. You're literally gonna get your answer from them. You're not gonna get it from the Tamil Brahmins. You're not gonna get it from any other part of the caste system. You're gonna get it from the Dalits themselves, because they are the bottom of the caste food chain, and they know what goes down. They know how the Hindu nationalists work. They know how the Hindu bourgeoisie works against them. So there you go.
I was muted that whole fucking time. Oh my fucking god. I was muted that whole time. I was talking. I'm like, wait, can anyone hear me? I'm like, oh, I'm fucking muted.
What was going on?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was asking anyone if they have anything else to say.
Ches saying just messaged that he has to leave now, so bye, comrade. And
All power to people.
All power to the people. I want to start getting into that YouTube video. Of course, I sent Sister Yesenia a message. Maybe we can have a brief call after this to talk about some things going on in Colorado. And that's pretty much. And then if I can reach out to Shanti and Gabby to once I'm reading this, so I have a question or something like that, if I could reach out to you guys, and so I can have a better understanding of what I'll be reading.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Just you know, you know, when we're done, and you know, we can talk. We can talk.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna start because I found a couple, like one's like 58 minutes and one's like 2.5 hours. So it'll probably take me a day or two to go through them.
Yeah.
But it's Frederick Engels, and I want to. I mean, I know a little bit about him, but not nearly enough that I can actually speak as you know, elegant and as philosophical as you two young comrades. But I really like these study groups, and I really appreciate them, and it just inspires me to keep on wanting to learn. So thank you all.
You're good. You're good, comrade. You're good. You're good. And we're definitely talking. We can definitely talk about also proletarian feminism, because you know, I'm now starting to actually understand what proletarian feminism is. Like, you know, more class conscious way of feminism that actually calls out the bourgeois system for where they actually are in terms of the patriarchy and class. Like they're inseparable. So like I think Esperanza, who is a the Chicana trans woman, Marxist, Leninist, Maoist. She's amazing, by the way. Amazing, amazing, amazing woman. You can learn that from her. And some of the Maoist figures in India about proletariat feminism from foreign language press. I love foreign language press. Everyone should get with them because like they are hidden gems too. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that because more people should know.
Foreign language press is amazing. I love foreign language press.
I almost wish we had like just a specific, study group where we could talk about certain things versus reading a book and I mean maybe not all the time, but every once in a while. And I guess we could do that through a group chat or something like that. Every once in a while, time permits, and then
I'm planning on that.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, because I know you've been jotting down a lot of books and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty powerful.
Look, I've been doing the thing. Okay, I've been doing the damn thing these past few weeks. Really getting any kind of books that I can, putting it down, and just learning from the Young Boards and the Black Panther programs, the Communist Party of the Philippines, Peru, India. Like I'm literally learning from every avenue. Okay, I'm doing it.
Nice. Well, you keep on doing what you're doing, and we all appreciate all of us that are here on this study group because it's food for thought, right?
Yeah,
and that's all. But I think we've been on for like 3 hours and stuff like that. So, or I don't know, something like that. I don't know. I didn't even look, but
yeah, we've been on here for a little bit. I was gonna ask, does anyone else have anything to say at all?
The only thing I can say is I definitely need to get the Attica book because look, when Jorge held that book, I was like, whoa, okay. I never seen a book on Attica that big in my life. Like I already knew about Attica.
That book is massive. Like goddamn. Like the only other book that I can think of that's bigger. The only other book that I can think of that's bigger than that one is Capital, the first volume. At least that's the only other book that I can think that's bigger than that.
The Karl Marx series, right?
Yeah. There are 3 volumes. There's the first volume, the second volume, and then the third volume.
I need to find that book, and I'm definitely adding that to the list because, like, wow.
Oh yeah. I have a bunch of things to recommend you, Shanti. I have a bunch of other books that I would love to recommend you.
Yeah, of course.
I will tell you them later, but if that is all, and if no one else has anything to say, it was wonderful having y'all here. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for anyone who may see this live. And as always, all power to the people.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
All revolutionary love and power.
Stay strong, comrades.
Have a wonderful weekend, y'all. I love you guys, and I hope y'all have an amazing day. Bye.
Bye.
We'll be back Sunday.
Right on. Yes, we will be back Sunday. We'll be back Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then on Tuesday for the United Panther Movement Book Club, where we are reading Seize the Time by Bobby Seale. So make sure y'all tune in for that one. But as always, all power to the people, and see y'all next time.
Seize the time.
Seize the time.